Hello and welcome to my channel. Vice Rhino here, Cirrus over there, the dad from Bluey right here. That was one of my Christmas presents. It's not a dad. I don't have a dad bod. It's a father figure, is what it says.
Oh, that's adorable. That's a dad joke that doesn't make me unreasonably angry. That's good. Although apparently calling pizza za does make you upset.
I mean, it's just stupid. Why would you call it za?
It's shorter.
No, it's not. Shorter.
Also,
it's not shorter enough to justify it.
Also, if we're being wholly transparent, the real reason why I would say it is to get a reaction out of other people in the room.
Yeah, that's fair. I do stuff like that too. Pega J says dive rolls through window. Greetings. Okay,
Stop.
So I saw someone earlier. There we go. Evil Atheist says the bigger question is, what will today's glitch be? So hopefully it's just the minor thing that I'm kind of annoyed about. I've been on the hunt for a program that will like highlight like here's a message from my my YouTube chat. But then if I want to highlight something in the Twitch chat, it
just dies.
No, it's over there. It's on the other side of the screen. It's a completely different format or whatever. So I'm like, I just want one program that does them both the same. And I found one
because you want consistency.
Yeah, I found one that does it in theory, and so there's the Twitch chat in the same style as the YouTube chat thing. Za is only a word in Scrabble. Well, if you do it with two Zs. So it's the same style, but so while the one I have over here works for YouTube in that style, the new one that is supposed to work for YouTube and Twitch does not work with YouTube, apparently, because it was just saying, oh, the chat's not available for this stream. Like, fuck you. I'm in the chat right now.
And you're just like, the chat is available because it's working currently.
And it's like there used to be an app called Twidget that was really, really good, and it was amazing, and it had an OBS dock and everything, and it just worked with everything. But then the guy was like, I'm not going to support this anymore, and it's getting expensive, like maintaining the servers. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's fair. And he's like, but I'm working on like a follow-up app that's going to do it in a different way, and it's going to be so much better than Twidget, and it's called ChatPipe. But when you search for ChatPipe, the only thing you find is some enterprise level software that has nothing to do with streaming, and him announcing that he's going to have ChatPipe later. But there is no ChatPipe, and that was like 2 years ago. So I don't think ChatPipe's coming. And like, I can't be mad that some guy didn't spend a bunch of his time making a free program for me to make my life easier, but it's still kind of like, I want to be mad at it.
I'm just surprised that looking up specifically the word chat pipe didn't give you a copious amount of porn.
Oh, I'm sure it would if I'd have scrolled down a little, but I'm like,
oh, fair enough.
Yeah, but
no, I want to live in the world where the very first thing you see is the porn.
Yeah. Also, as to my streaming issues last week, those should be resolved. Yeah, chat pipe got stuck in the drain. Okay. So I did two things. I set the encoder to fast, which degrades the quality a little bit, but it looks reasonable to me. And then I also set it to, I used to have it use hardware encoding, which would use my graphics card, which I have a pretty good graphics card. It's the 3070 in this machine. And it's in a PCI Gen 4 lane running at Gen 4 speeds. Oh, my partner is in the chat saying smash, but then she's going to hear me talking tech and be like, nope, I'm tuning out.
People in my chat are asking if you want some holiday drywall.
No, I don't know. I know you have a thing on drywall in your channel, but I don't know what holiday drywall is, so I'm not just going to say yes.
Sounds like it would just be eating drywall with like sprinkles.
Drywall
red and green sprinkles on it, probably.
Yeah, so I have a 3070 running on Gen 4 speeds. I have a decent processor. It's a Ryzen 7 3800 XT, I think, something like that. I don't know. It's never been overly taxed while I'm streaming. So in theory, these things can work well, but from what I was reading with my specific issue is there might have been a problem with like OBS trying to do some of the rendering on the CPU and some of the rendering on the GPU, and if the timings weren't perfect when they like merged on the motherboard or whatever, then it would drop frames. I am obviously butchering this explanation because as much as I'm a tech enthusiast, I'm not hardcore into the detail side of things.
Enthusiast, not guru.
Yeah. And so like that's my understanding, is that there could, like, even though it's good equipment, it could still be some sort of like frames just get stuck in the buffer and never quite make it out. And so I set it to do everything on the CPU, which you would think would slow it down. Like, instead of, hey, let's use these two awesome things to do all the things, let's just use one. I was having trouble with two awesome things, so let's just do the one. And
I think it might just be because
cut my power in half, but now it works better.
I think it might be because it's able to just like throw everything into one core of the CPU and call it a day.
Yeah, no, there's a coordination thing going on that like I understand with computers it's not always number higher go better. Like there's the way things work together can be very complicated and intricate, and like I don't fucking know. So I'm just like, it seems to be working right now. Dare I hit the start record button so I can record natively, so I don't have to wait until YouTube's done processing to download it.
Which is usually like 24 hours.
Agamotto1313 says, I finally get to be in a VR stream, and now you're actually in the stream because I highlighted your message.
Oh, you're in the stream and in the video. Look at you.
And Naramdaput says, number not go burr. And
Ziggy says, Rhino neutered.
Number go burr, but not when one number go burr and other number go different burr, it make no burr.
Said Rhino neutered his PC to help it calm down and focus. Rhino was just like, let me cut off my PC's balls real quick. Okay, can you concentrate now?
Basically, yeah. Yeah, so now I've got this fancy schmancy graphic card just doing nothing for the stream. I mean, it helps with like video editing and shit, but it feels weird not using all the hardware for the stream.
Ice Rogue says Cirrus could use a lore wiki, especially since he decided that all fan art is canon. If you guys want to make a wiki, I'll promote it. That's on you.
Yeah, don't do it on Fandango or whatever that shit site is that is having all the like the one that is most concerned with cramming as many ads down your throat as possible, rather than like actually. And the Wikio ones are all on that. Fusel says, I wasn't here last time. Did Rhino get a holiday haircut? Yes, I did. I had to go out and do a bunch of shit before Christmas, and while I was out, I was like, you know what? I got a little bit of time. I will go get a haircut because I never leave the house. I'm out of the house now. May as well take advantage of it.
That's a little off the top, everyone.
That's actually the reason why it goes so far in between haircuts for me, is because I just don't leave the house. And when I do leave the house, it's usually like just a quick out and get something and come back. Olivia Williams, member for 3 months, says, hope everyone had a nice Yule. I did. It was good. I got my bluey shirt.
Look, we need to get you out of the house more, not for any actual health reasons, but so that you go play Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That seems like a lot of work.
Fine, we'll just do it on stream from the comfort of your own home. There's
sure.
Doctor Who decks now, Rhino. You have no excuse.
There are Doctor Who decks. I haven't been watching Doctor Who a lot recently. Has it gotten better? Like, has Chibnall left yet?
From what I understand, so I don't watch Doctor Who, but my friend Pup is a huge Doctor Who fan, and he was gushing to me about the writing improving in the most recent episodes a lot.
I've watched the first two of the specials that are on Disney Plus now, and they seem decent. I wasn't really paying attention to who was writing them, but I know, like, I didn't like Chibnall's era with Jodie Whittaker. And it's not that I don't like Jodie Whittaker. Like, I would have loved to see her take full advantage. Like, she's got acting chops. Like, she was great in Broadchurch. But like, Chibnall didn't seem to understand the character of the Doctor. Like, there was a lot of times when it's like, oh, the Doctor doesn't use guns, so she'll just find another way to kill them in what would have been exactly the same as if she'd just used a gun, except sometimes even worse, because like there was one episode where there's sentient spiders that like, oh no, I will not use weapons to kill them. I will just lock them in a room without food until they starve to death. That's much better.
That's way more cruel. What?
Yeah, but the show plays that off as if that was the moral decision. No, we don't use weapons. Weapons are immoral. So we will just torture them to death. Like, no, that's not good. And the show treated that like it was a good thing. And like the whole Chibnall era was like chock full of shit like that. And yeah, like
sounds not enjoyable.
So the Master regenerated as a person with descended from, as a person of color. He was from India, or heritage from India. Mm-hmm. And there was one episode where he was a Nazi, and the payoff in that episode where he finally gets what he deserves is when he was working for the Nazis, and like that was a big plot point, is like, okay, well, how can you be working for the Nazis? They wouldn't let a person of color so high up in their ranks. And the answer, I used a perception filter on my face so I look like a white guy. And the payoff for that episode was she broke his perception filter and was like, now they're going to see you for who you really are and throw you in a concentration camp. Like, and that was supposed to be a good thing. The Nazis giving the guy his comeuppance by throwing him in a concentration camp for having the wrong skin color was
supposed to be a good thing.
This is what you deserve part of the episode. It's like, I don't think you did it right.
That sounds so. I like a lot of really long-running things, and when they fuck up a character thing that bad, I get really upset.
Well, that's part of why I stopped watching. Like I mean, part of it was also like I don't really watch anything by myself. It's always kind of a group thing. Mm-hmm. And so Doctor Who was something that my wife and I did, and my partner doesn't. Like, I mean, she'll watch a few episodes with me. It's like she's not into it to the same degree, so it's like we're not going to sit down and binge watch a bunch of Doctor Who stuff. So that's not something I'm going to do on my own. So I just don't.
Kind of feels weird after like. So one of the biggest things for your channel for ages was the is the River Song intro.
Yeah, and
so it feels weird knowing you're not watching as much of it because of how integral that was for the longest time.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's turned into fan art rather than just using screenshots of River Song. But yeah, mm-hmm. that's and I still like the classic stuff. Like this was one of the episodes I made my partner watch with me. It was one of the Christmas episodes that we watch every year. And it's completely cheesy, and it makes no sense, and the science doesn't even make any sense. And I was like, there's so many plot holes just in that one episode, but it's a fun little romp.
There, I think it's one of the Christmas episodes that has the "just this once rose, everybody lives" moment.
I don't think that was a Christmas one. It was the Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. That was a two-parter. It was really good. I don't think that was a Christmas one though.
Okay, because I remember like when the magic card for Everybody Lives came out, everybody like immediately, like the price of it went up a lot from release, and it wasn't just because it's a good card, because it is. It's that everybody who was a Doctor Who fan looked at that and said, okay. Also, help that I think some of the most loved Doctors apparently were like 9, 10, and 11.
Yes.
And so they made a deck that just had 9, 10, 11 all stuck in it only, and they put the 13th Doctor in her own separate deck.
Yeah, and it's a shame too. It's a shame too because like, that's like the right wing has their whole go woke, go broke thing,
mm-hmm.
and so they'll see that like when Jodie Whittaker was the Doctor, the show sucked. But it's not because they went woke. They could have done so much. Like one of the main characters had a disability that caused him to not have proper coordination.
Mm-hmm.
It never played into the plot. Like once they had something play into the plot where it's like in like the final episode is like, oh, you have to throw this bomb right in the middle of this area of Cybermen, and if I miss, we all die. And so this is the one time I have to have my coordination. And you get a flashback to him playing basketball, and he always misses the shot because he doesn't have the coordination because he's got this disability. And he finally makes a thing. Except it had not built to that. It was just occasionally they would remind you, oh yeah, I have this disability where I'm not coordinated. But then like later in the episode, he would like be running around with guns blazing, shooting robots left and right. And then the explanation for that was like, yeah, I play a lot of Call of Duty, so of course I'm good at that. It's like, no, so that's not how it works.
He's good at having coordination when he's playing video game, but as soon as he tries to move it into anything else, it fails. Because I guess so, like, that's weird.
Yeah, it just wasn't done. And we got Tom Baker forever in the chat. Yeah, Tom Baker was great. Puddleglum was the best doctor. Some people will get that. I don't think Cirrus is one of those.
Nope.
Because he's a young'un, as we learned on his stream when he was waxing poetic about having a Wii as a child.
I'm 31. That's not that young. It's not spaced too far away from you.
I know, but it's far enough away that like the Wii came out while I was an adult in college, and you were a child. I'm like, I grew up on the NES and the Commodore 64,
and I grew up on the SNES and the Super and the N64. We are just a gaming generation removed, motherfucker.
All right. Okay, let's do some articles. Oh, wait. God damn it.
No, you need to tell me again how the way to play good games on the Wii is by just playing GameCube games.
Yeah, that was actually that was the main thing I used my Wii for when I had one, was playing GameCube games.
I use it to play GameCube games as well, but primarily it's an emulation machine for me these days.
Yeah, it's good for that. We have our Wii is, in theory, it's hacked so that you can just run things off a hard drive that's plugged into it. But yeah, we use it so infrequently and the hack is so sketchy that like oftentimes, like it would be like, oh, we haven't played the Wii in a while, and then you plug it in, turn it on, and oh, look, it's not working because the hack broke. I need to re-hack it. Anyway, let's get to the news.
This is Ron DeSantis. He suffers from Frownington's disease, which causes his smile to look more like he's wincing from sitting on his own testicles.
Okay.
Court sees through Ron DeSantis lies behind the law banning medical care for trans youth.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So, let me smack my microphone. This year has all been downhill for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. His presidential aspirations are going up in smoke thanks to his complete lack of charisma and general campaign incompetence. His losing war against Disney is costing Florida taxpayers millions of dollars, and now a federal court all but called DeSantis a liar for the way he justified his ban on medical care for trans youth. So if you'll recall, this is where, like, in Florida, basically, if a doctor if anyone seeks medical care for a trans kid, they can be like they call that child abuse, and like, oh, that's not.
Didn't he also try to make it illegal to go out of Florida to seek that as well?
I mean, they've all been doing it. Texas has been doing that.
Yeah, I feel like being in a quote free country and then being told you can't travel for healthcare, it makes me want to crave some of the other ways the United States has classically gained its freedoms. Yeah, just throw a little tea in the Boston Harbor, you know.
What's amazing to me about that is like these same people are the people who like defend the Confederacy and be like, oh no, it wasn't about slavery, it was about states' rights. And it's like, okay, yeah, states' rights to do what? But like, why are you trying to infringe on other states' rights? Why are you trying to make these things that are supposed to be states' rights national? Like, you're Florida. Don't worry about what people do outside of Florida. That's none of your goddamn business. At least if you're gonna be consistent, it's none of your goddamn business. But when has the GOP ever been consistent?
They will always operate within what is most convenient for them at the time. Mm-hmm. Don't worry. Religious liberty good unless it's a statue of Baphomet, or unless we call abortion a religious right.
Yep.
Then it's bad.
Yeah. So DeSantis repeatedly claimed that the law was necessary to prevent youth from being mutilated, which, of course, anyone who actually spends 10 seconds looking into it knows that that's not what happens. Like, in some very rare cases, you might find someone that got a mastectomy when they were 16. And, like, that's it. No dicks are getting chopped off. No fake dicks are getting put on. None of the stuff they're fear-mongering about is actually happening.
Especially considering that, like, most of those procedures we will not do unless somebody has gone under hormone therapy for a certain amount of time. Because there's already a year or two that you can't do it in anyway.
Yeah. So when I was saying maybe sometimes you'll find a 16-year-old who has had a mastectomy, what that ends up being is like, the rare instance where you have that. They started hormone therapy when they were like 12, or they started puberty blockers when they were like 12. They've been in therapy. They have consistently presented as the gender that they're transitioning to. They're otherwise mentally healthy. Like, there's so many restrictions on it but like these guys are presenting it as like, oh yeah, all a little girl needs to do is be like, I'm a boy now, and then immediately they schedule her for surgery and chop her tits off. And it's like, okay, well, first off, why are you so concerned about the boobs of minors? Like, that's a bit creepy. Maybe mind your own business. But like, more importantly, that's just not what fucking happens.
Yeah, so I'm gonna shout out another creator real quick who does a ton of work on this. If you ever want to learn like how to see through a lot of this kind of skeezy language that is used for these articles and these bills, Aaron Reed on Twitter. Aaron does a fuck ton, like to the point where I wonder how they function. Fuck ton of reporting on anti-trans bills. So if ever you are wondering, hey, wait a minute, is this bill actually, not for the betterment of children's lives, but actually for the restrictions of trans people's rights? Erin's probably talked about it already. She's probably a good place to go.
Yeah. And DeSantis says, and when you talk to people, and I know like people in your industry will dress it up with a euphemism and they'll say it's healthcare to cut off the private parts of a 14-year-old or 15-year-old. That's not healthcare, that's mutilation. Like, okay, but like as we just discussed, that's not actually happening. So the fact that you're saying that is just a lie. That's just plain and simple. It's a lie.
I love living in America. I would say don't you, but I know you don't.
I don't. I love living in Canada.
Where you have fewer of these problems.
I like my free healthcare and my relatively cheap scotch. I found a 12-year-old bottle for like under $60. Single malt 12-year-old scotch. It's not bad.
So I don't drink, so I actually have no context for if that's good or not.
It is good. So scotch generally gets smoother with age. So like the older it is, the better it tastes.
Okay, so like when it's just freshly made.
Yeah. But also like you also have to consider like the distillery is going to like they have to be compensated. Like if they're going to have this thing just sitting in their basement for 12 years, like that's like they could have sold it earlier as not as good a product, so they're making it take longer.
Yeah,
they need to be compensated for that. So like the older ones go up in price. So finding a 12-year for like $60 is pretty fucking awesome.
Like one of I guess it's also one of the reasons why there's an upcharge on Tabasco compared to a lot of other hot sauces. It's aged for 3 years.
Yeah. So like my probably my favorite scotch is the Macallan 12-year, which bottle of that is $120.
Yeah.
And then I was at a liquor store in Toronto when I was doing all the filming with Paul. We just popped into the liquor store, see what they had. They had a display where they had like the super pricey scotches. There was I want to say it was a 35-year-old scotch for $10,000 for the bottle. And I'm just like, I'll bet you that scotch is really, really fucking good. But you know what is more useful than that? A car. You can get a car for that price.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you have to be flush with enough cash where you can justify that kind of expense.
I cannot. Patreon.com/ViceReno. Buy me a $10,000 scotch.
Like I feel like I'm spending too much money when I spend $25 on a Magic card. So I think $10,000 scotch is a bit a bit outside of my palate basically forever.
Lek is Cool says, me not processing the whole sentence and only hearing, I found a 12-year-old.
So when I heard you say it the way you did, the cadence did make it seem like that was the end of the sentence for a split moment.
Nobody clipped that out of context. Yeah, Jimmy's saying Talisker is a really good whiskey if you can get it. Yeah, they usually have Talisker up here. Anyway, back to Rhonda.
Rhonda Santis.
Rhonda Santis. Rhonda says, when I'm analyzing this is the judge. Sorry. Judge Hinkle. When I'm analyzing the governor's motivation, what should I make of these statements? Hinkle asked here at a hearing on the law. This seems to be more than just hyperbole. He's presiding over a challenge to the law by 3 families with trans kids. He has issued a stay against the law from taking effect while it's being challenged. And he was also the judge that struck down Florida's ban on Medicaid coverage for gender-affirming care. And in that decision, he wrote, gender identity is real. Because it fucking is. It's just
if gender identity is not real, then how are all these people identifying? It's one of those things like when somebody says a non-binary person doesn't exist, and then just like a bunch of NBs come out and go,
hi, I'm here.
I pinched myself. I seem to be here right now, though. Strange.
Yeah, so Hinkle said he wondered if the plaintiffs could prove DeSantis supported the law because he hates trans people. The attorney for the family said that the law is unconstitutional as written, so his motives are not the deciding factor. However, I feel like his motives should be taken into account, like he clearly does hate trans people, so maybe we should not let him write laws about trans people. Be like, if a legislator is an out and like just obvious Nazi, maybe don't let them write laws that are going to affect Jewish people. Or maybe just don't vote for them, because don't vote for Trump is the message there.
Didn't we do something similar with this with McCarthy years and years and years ago? The whole like famous clip, at long last, have you no sense of decency left? Like, wasn't the character and intent behind his actions actually considered a deciding factor finally?
I don't remember.
I need to go brush up on my Red Scare lore.
Tasha says that sounds like something to be resolved at the ballot box. Yeah, don't vote for Nazis. You would think that would be just an easy, like, non-controversial statement, but apparently it's not, because they'll be like, oh no, they're not really Nazis, they just use all the same rhetoric as the Nazis.
Yeah, the problem is that people in the United States have been very thoroughly desensitized to, and granted, we know this is how this is going to work because this is what happened in Germany as well. People are very desensitized to what Nazi rhetoric looks like and sounds like. And we know that they were desensitized to that even back in the 40s in America. The only reason that we went to war against the Nazis is we were able to paint enough of a bad picture of them for people to actually go to war with them. But we had brown shirts. Like, that was an actual sect of people in the United States around that time, and the America First movement around that time, that all were pro-Nazis. Like, we've had this problem for a long time. We've just never been able to get rid of it.
You know what? This is reminding me, this will come back later in a later news item, but it strikes me as odd that, like, Trump is very obviously a fascist. Like, it's not even subtle anymore. Like, if you're gonna be like, oh no, he's not really, that's hyperbole, like, no, fuck off with that. He has come out and said, I want to be a dictator, I'm gonna be a dictator on day one. Like, that's not like, and that's far from the only thing he said. I've lost track of how many times he has said things that are just out and out fascist. So it's just become a matter of, like, when people tell you who they are, just believe them when they say it. But for all that, it's kind of striking the parallels between Trump and Neville Chamberlain. Because, like, Neville Chamberlain, when Hitler was coming to power and first expanding throughout Europe, and, like, I think he was prime minister when they took over Poland. I don't
remember.
So his whole thing was appeasement. Like, oh, if we, like, oh no, we've been through World War I. We don't want to start World War II. So we just give Hitler what he wants, and then he'll be peaceful. Just leave him be. Don't antagonize him.
But that doesn't work.
Yeah,
like, you can't just ignore when somebody's saying that genocide is good. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away. Ignoring it just normalizes it.
Yeah, so that was Neville Chamberlain's whole thing. But like, Trump is kind of the same with Putin. Like, a lot of his rhetoric is like, oh, well, look, Joe Biden is starting World War III because under me, Putin was afraid to attack Ukraine. And like, we should just do some of what Putin says because like he
spent all of his time sucking Putin's schlong.
Yeah, I know, but like it's a very, but his rhetoric is very much in a like, I'm doing this to prevent World War III, and oh look, wars break out under Joe Biden. What is that? Oh, somebody redeemed a hydrate. Yeah, I've been drinking the scotch. I should probably drink some water. Thank you, Stromboli for Wi-Fi.
War is going to happen in foreign countries, irrespective of what we do. We are not the arbiter of whether wars do or do not begin.
Yeah,
all the time.
But that's his rhetoric is consistently like, oh, Joe Biden is starting wars. I didn't start any new wars while I was president. I continued a lot of them, and Joe Biden does drone strikes a lot less than I did. Although, to be fair, Trump did do less drone strikes than Obama.
Obama's kind of known for it.
Yeah, he wasn't as good as we all like to think he was, but I'd still rather have him than Trump. Anyway,
president tier list. We'll have to do that one day.
Sure. Yeah. So DeSantis has been basically relying on his anti-trans stuff to, win over the MAGA crowd that might be worried about Trump being a bit too unhinged. But like, DeSantis is equally unhinged.
So he tries to, and now I recognize there is logic in that strategy. I understand there's logic in that strategy, but I'm going to say it in the most stupid terms possible. He's going to try to make himself seem less unhinged by supporting genocide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Got it.
All right.
Good to know.
This judge doesn't like Ron DeSantis, and he's likely going to strike down the laws that DeSantis is passing. And DeSantis is not going to be president anytime soon. Thank fuck.
Ice Rogue says president tier list. Who's worse, Trump or Reagan? Reagan.
Because Reagan actually got stuff done.
Yeah, Reagan actually had the charisma to carry all of his shit forward.
Have you heard the leaked recording of when he called Nixon and how Nixon taped everything? And it was right after some African nations agreed to something in the UN that the US didn't like. I forget the details, but Reagan called Nixon, and there was like a good minute-long conversation where he was talking about those monkeys from Africa that aren't even comfortable in shoes.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I did not hear that.
Oh, it's bad. It's like Reagan was like, and what's
don't worry, it's just locker room talk. That worked for Trump.
See, that's the thing, is because this is how racism spreads. It's not like you'll never find a racist that just comes out, well, except for like the occasional nut job, but like you don't really find racists that come out and be like, oh yes, I am racist, I hate these people. They always try and couch it in like terms that are socially acceptable, except when they think they're alone. And so what's interesting is the terminology that Reagan used when on the phone with Nixon. In the same tapes, Nixon then repeated that same stuff to other people like several times that day, because now he feels vindicated that this other white guy feels the same way as I do. So now I'm going to start saying the same thing to these other white guys that I know.
And then suddenly it moves.
That's how it
moves from the back. It moves from the thing you say in the background with all of your friends to, oops, it slipped out once, to, no, this is just what I say.
Yeah.
Like it, and the thing is, if the group of people that you've been saying it to behind the scenes for the longest time are okay with that, even if you get ostracized for saying those things, eventually what happens is you don't feel like it because you have such a large group supporting you anyway, and now suddenly your bad decision is a point of vindication.
So Monorail says Reagan didn't get things done, his team did, and Reagan just explained it to the public. So the thing with that is that, like, that's kind of the same point I was trying to make, is that, like, Reagan had people that he could rely on to actually, like, do stuff and actually, like, work in the within the system of government to get what he wanted done, whereas Trump just hired a bunch of idiots that didn't know what the fuck was going on. And so
Trump seemed to focus mostly on grabbing sycophants.
Yeah, he couldn't get things done because he hired people that didn't know how to get things done, because he just hired people that sucked his dick the most. Whereas Reagan actually knew how to hire people that knew what to do.
Yeah, it's interesting because every single thing that Trump has done on his campaign trail and within his presidency was learned from Reagan. Like so there was a sign driving on one of the main roads around where I live that was for a politician who was trying to push himself in Georgia. I don't remember his name, and the sign's not there anymore. I wish I'd taken a picture of it, because the sign said, inspired by Reagan, energized by Trump.
Oh, God.
And I'm just like, if that does not show you the exact formula that is being used there, especially considering that the whole Make America Great Again movement was literally lifted directly off of Reagan's older speeches, they just, I would have to go Reagan worse, because Reagan is a source.
So Monorail 425 says Oliver North, Iran Contra, Nicaragua, hostage crisis in Iran. Are you just quoting "We Didn't Start the Fire"? Because that's a good song, but I don't remember the lyrics. Agamotto apparently got a bunch of ads and now is back. I'm sorry about the ads.
Reagan set the stage.
Full disclosure, every now and then I get a little pop-up on my thing saying, run a 1-minute ad break, and I never click it. So Twitch just decides to do that on their own.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, next news item.
Oh, very well. It's time for your bribe. Now, you can either have the washer and dryer where the lovely Smithers is standing, or you can trade it all in for what's in this box.
The box. The box.
Look, Burns, this is a big problem. You just can't throw money at it and make it go away.
Gentlemen, I've decided there will be no investigation now. If you excuse me, I'll go away.
Clarence Thomas!
Definitely doesn't accept bribes. Not at all. He just happens to have a lot of money come in from sketchy places.
So this is from Vanity Fair. It says the Clarence Thomas scandal is somehow looking even worse. So, like, I don't need to go into the whole details about Harlan Crow. We Didn't Start the Fire. Yes. Did I say the name of the song wrong? I'm sorry, Monorail. It is a good song, though. I'm not going to go into detail, but the broad strokes are billionaire Harlan Crow, among others, have been paying for Clarence Thomas to go on luxury vacations. They bought him an RV. One of them owns, like, a house that his mother lives in rent-free. Someone paid his nephew's private school tuition. There's just... all these billionaires are paying for a shit ton of stuff for Clarence Thomas that he has not been disclosing on the forums that that he's supposed to be using, to, like, say, like, hey, I've been getting these gifts, and, like, to a degree where, like, any, like, a traffic court judge would be fired, like, impeached, fired, like, sent to jail for the kind of behavior that Clarence Thomas has displayed, and he's the judge in the highest court, and they're like, oh no, we don't have to disclose that. And this is...
it's weird. You would think they would be held to a higher standard.
Yeah, you'd think so. So this is a story about how all of that is somehow worse than what I just said. You want to know how it's worse?
Okay.
So Clarence Thomas reportedly expressed significant concerns about his financial situation, even prompting concerns from a Republican lawmaker more than 20 years ago that he might resign from the Supreme Court if he could not boost his salary. One or more justices will leave soon if justices aren't given a raise, Thomas told the Republican Representative Cliff Stearns in 2000. So yeah, in 2000, that's about the time he started receiving all these gifts. So he was like, hey, I'm a conservative justice who votes in favor of policies that will benefit billionaires. I might leave the court if I don't find a way to make more money and have a better lifestyle. And then immediately he gets a bunch of billionaires donating a bunch of vacations and shit to him.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, so
funny how that works.
And Stearns tried to pass a bill to raise their salaries, but it did not pass. And ProPublica, so hats off to ProPublica. They've basically been like the front runners in this whole Clarence Thomas thing. So they found this one as well. Yeah, so like it was immediately after that right-wing billionaires started lavishing him with gifts. And his salary when he complained about not having enough money was $173,600 a year, which, okay, a lawyer in private practice probably could make more than that. If he retired from the Supreme Court and then used his clout as a former Supreme Court justice to, promote himself, he could make significantly more money than that privately. But that's still a shit ton of money. Like, that is significantly more than $10,000 a month.
Like, you have to ask yourself a question.
If you can't live on 10 grand a month in 2000, this is before inflation went wild.
I'm sitting here thinking, so like all of my bills combined make up about 2,000, sometimes 3,000 if it's like the power bill is ginormous because we've had to use the heaters or some shit,
yeah.
Right?
So like, it's almost 15,000 a month.
I cannot conceive of a world in which that much money would be required. I would have to literally try to spend all of my money at that point. And I would run out after 3 or 4 months. I would fucking run out of shit to buy.
I mean, I have 5 kids, so this just feels like feeding them.
Patreon.com/Rhino.
Yeah, but no, like, kidding aside, that's a shit ton of money. I would be set if that was my salary. But like, he's complaining that that's not enough, and he was apparently hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt as a Supreme Court justice. So, yeah, no, I feel like if you're a Supreme Court justice and you complain once about the salary, you should be immediately fired. If money is a concern for you, like, you are there to do your civic duty. You are not there to make bank. If you want to make bank, go ahead and fucking retire and do speaking gigs for the rest of your life.
But it is also one of the highest paying gigs in the country.
Yeah, but like, the speaking gigs would be fucking easy. Pay someone else to write your speech for you and then just go read it. Like, whatever. That would be so fucking easy. But like, I don't know. It's just wild that he can make that much money and complain about not making enough money. And it's like, you know what? Being a Supreme Court justice should not make you rich. Like, yeah, I'm okay with them getting rich after they retire using their clout as a former Supreme Court justice. Fine. I actually think it would be good if there were some incentive for them to retire rather than continue to be a Supreme Court justice.
Rather than us having to wait for them to die?
Yeah, that would be fantastic. If we put term limits on, that would be amazing. But you can retire and make a lot more money. Anyway.
But we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, so basically, I've kind of gone through the whole thing. Oh, sorry, that kind of reminds me. I don't know how I missed this on our last stream, but in one of our news articles, I missed the one single line that they had. That was like, it was the one about Trump being removed from the ballot in Colorado, where Vivek Ramaswamy was like, if you don't put Trump back on the ballot, I'm going to withdraw myself from the ballot in Colorado.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm just like, yes, good, excellent. That sounds great. Let's go for it. Fewer of you assholes on the ballot, the better. So Adam Broughton says
we could just take
the level of accountability you get is inversely proportional to your position. Yeah, that's the way it seems. That's not the way it should be, but
like I'd be okay if Vivek. One, we know he's not going to win. Like so there's already not too much of a threat for that. But like, if he just took his name off all the ballots anyway as a gesture of like accepting reality, I'm okay with fewer assholes who scream about getting rid of the brown people in the United States. I'm okay with that.
It's weird coming from a brown person, though.
Yeah, it is weird. And like I understand that there are people who are going to be like, he's never actually said that. Nope. Anybody who pisses and moans as much about immigration as Vivek does, you know there's a certain type of person he's trying to get out of the United States. That euphemism is not fully dead yet.
Oh yeah. Also, so this article points out the ethics code that they have adopted, but they are also supposed to like self-enforce. So like, I don't really have a lot of faith that that's going to do much. But also,
how is self-enforcement supposed to work anyway if it doesn't work for the Catholic Church?
I mean, arguably they already should have been self-enforcing. Like any fucking like first-year law student could tell you that as a lawyer, if I took gifts from someone who like has a conflict of interest with a case that I'm working on, I should not take those gifts, and I should report the fact that they tried to give me those gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And like I know people in real estate that like if they accepted a lunch, like someone paid for their lunch when they were out, they would have to report that, or they'd have to refuse and be like, no, I can't let you pay for this because that's a violation of the ethics code of the place that I work at. But like the highest court on the land, like, no, it's okay that billionaires who regularly have like stuff in front of the Supreme Court that like maybe not them personally, but it's going to affect them. You know, it's okay for them to give me lavish vacations that nobody can afford.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons why on my streams, whenever somebody's talking about like financial stream stuff, I'll just pull up my Twitch revenue and I'll pull up my YouTube revenue and just show it on stream. Just be like, this is how much I make. If you want to support my stream, you have a full transparency on what I make in a month. Congratulations. Here you
go. See, I don't do that, but that's more because I have a thing about privacy. I will say
that's totally understandable.
I made like $50 on Twitch my first month that I was an affiliate.
Nice.
I mean, like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot, but like, it's not insignificant. Like that's a phone bill.
It's a third of a phone bill for me, unfortunately. But
well, when I said a phone bill, it might have just been like my kid's phone bill, not the real phone bill.
It is a good chunk of the grocery bill, though, and that's super important.
No, I have 5 kids. That's not even touching the grocery bill.
God damn it! Look,
don't talk groceries with me, man. That's my biggest expense right now, and I'm getting my kitchen redone.
Oh yeah.
Seriously though, I'm super excited to have them come in and smash those tiles tomorrow.
Jack Harper says it violates free choice for people to ban pundits from the ballot. No, it doesn't.
No,
it actually doesn't.
It doesn't. It fucking doesn't. It is not your right to vote for a specific candidate. Like, you can do a write-in if you want.
Yeah, like there's nothing that stops you from voting for Trump. You can vote for Trump if you want. If you want to prove you got one brain cell,
but the thing is,
reality doesn't stop you.
But the thing is, like, they're framing it as though that's the person's, like, that's the populace's right to vote for. It's like, does that mean that the fact that my local garbage man is not on the ballot is a violation of my rights because I don't have the right to vote for my local garbage man to be prime minister? That's nothing against garbage men. I actually love my garbage men. They're fucking fantastic because like they like I don't like they're just good garbage men. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like my mother has bad garbage men. I have good garbage men. I like them.
We had this particular conversation last week, and I'm just going to restate the same thing I did last time. If you care about it that much, then I can tell you the type of world that you need to live in. You live in a world where basically the phone book is available on the voting ballot.
Yeah. So if not everybody's on the ballot, then that's not constitutional. That's a violation of my rights. No, that's a fucking job interview.
Yeah. Also, Jack Harper says it's free choice. You're removing choice from X portion of the population. No, you're not. Jack Harper, do you know what a write-in vote is in the United States? You're allowed to just write in Donald Trump.
There have been fucking dogs that have won mayoral elections in the States because of write-in ballots.
Like, you are allowed to vote for Trump.
I think it's
even in the state where he's not on the ballot, you're allowed to vote for him.
Yeah.
Nothing stops you.
Yeah. He's just not on the ballot.
Yeah, but
because
you're still allowed
people
to vote
that have engaged in insurrection should not be on the ballot. Anyway, these people are some Democrats are calling for Thomas to recuse himself from the case that Donald Trump has put forth about his January 6th thing, because his wife was intimately involved with the January 6th thing. And so it would be kind of a conflict of interest for the judge deciding, like one of the judges deciding the case, to have a wife who is intimately involved in the thing that's being decided. So like, I feel like he should recuse himself. However, he has never shown an interest in actually recusing himself from anything that he has a conflict of interest with.
He'd rather just justify it.
I would say that this whole receiving a bunch of presents from billionaires after complaining about his low salary of $170,000 a year counts as not caring one whit about corruption. I'd even go so far as to say that he might be corrupt.
Just a little bit?
Just a little bit.
You say he's been bought?
Just a little bit. A little bit.
I'd be completely comfortable saying he's been bought.
Yeah. Okay, next news item.
So will this district send my son to a better school when this one goes down?
We don't want this here in Francis Howell.
I deserve to not have to worry about my children getting stabbed or taking a drug or getting robbed, because that's the issue.
Ooh, that is not subtle. She's just a homies and a baggy pants away from full dog whistle bingo.
Okay, so remember Francis Howell? Trans Francis Howell, as we called them?
Oh, yeah. You were mentioning that we were going to be talking about this school again soon.
Yeah, so I actually looked up the whole school district. Like, the area that this district serves contains about 70,000 people. For comparison, I live in the Niagara region. It's not huge, but it's not small either. We have about 500,000 people in Niagara.
Okay.
So this is significantly smaller than the school districts that service my children. But they've been in the national news quite a lot. So those clips that we heard, that was from an episode of John Oliver. I was looking for funny clips to put in here, and I'm like, we're talking about, like, this is going to get into segregation type stuff. Like, are there funny things about segregation? How do I find that? And John Oliver has a segment on segregation. And hey, in his segment on segregation, there were a bunch of parents from Francis Howell complaining about black students being sent to their schools. Because that's what that was, in case you didn't catch it. Oh. The person saying, "Oh, I don't want my kids getting stabbed or getting drugs." That was in response.
Genetically predisposed to stabbing.
So that was in response. That was in 2013, and that was in response to I think it's Missouri. Yeah, because they're in the same state as St. Louis. So yeah, Missouri. The Missouri Supreme Court decided that like kids from school districts that were failing and doing absolutely terribly could be bussed into more affluent school districts. So the way that works out is because money follows the white kids when it comes to schooling. That meant that black kids were being bused to white schools. And the Francis Howell parents were like, "No, I don't want them stabbing my kids."
Cool, they're not going to stab your kid by being black.
Yeah, well, tell that to them. Anyway, Francis Howell School Board votes to remove Black History and Literature classes.
Oh, okay, cool.
So this was sent to me by Jacqueline. So, yeah, that's news@vicerhino.com if you have any news items you want me to cover. Jacqueline was kind enough to send it. Jacqueline actually sent 2 news items. This has been a developing story since the first time she sent it to me. So this is the latest iteration. So the Francis Howell School Board voted Thursday to eliminate the elective courses of Black History and Black Literature from the District's 3 high schools. The courses were first offered in 2021, so these are brand new courses being offered that are now being nixed at the high schools after Francis Howell students complained about discrimination against students and staff of color. So people were complaining, like, hey, you guys are discriminating against students of color and you're discriminating against staff of color. So, like, maybe we should have some classes that, like, teach some inclusive shit.
And I know there are people who get pissed off about any type of, like, inclusivity training, but
My God, I saw a fucking tweet from some guy that it was just like a picture of a bunch of kindergartners in a classroom, and they were like, soon this will be every classroom in America. This is so horrible. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, what? Like they're in school uniforms. Like school uniforms have pros and cons, but like, so I could see how like someone would not like school uniform because like that's kind of like unfair to, you know, families that aren't as well off that can't afford to buy new uniforms every year because kids fucking grow. So like, yeah, there is a discussion to be had there about the harm that can come from that, but also like it's school uniforms, which means it's an affluent school, but they were saying it was like an average school, and it's like, no, this isn't average if they're wearing uniforms. But and so like I was honestly baffled. I'm like, I don't even know what this person is trying to be offended at. But then after scrolling through their replies, they clarified it was the Great Replacement theory because there were like Black and Asian students in the picture.
Oh, okay.
And so it's like
other
enough,
races were included.
There aren't enough white kids. Therefore, this is bad. It's like, oh, fuck off.
And
for like a glorious 20 seconds, I lived in a world where the biggest problem with that picture was the uniforms. And then it's like, no, they're trying to replace us. Oh, fuck off.
It was only for 20 seconds. And then suddenly you were reminded that actually, no, we live in a world where there are people that think that white people can literally be fucked to death. Or be fucked into extinction, rather.
I was going to say, being fucked to death sounds not too bad.
Not death by snoo. Breeding happened and then your race was destroyed, apparently. Anybody that believes that, just like, no, we're all human. It's okay for humans to fuck other humans. That's fine.
Yeah, like, I don't... So my partner is biracial. And she actually pointed out to me that, like, technically, I've never actually dated a white woman. Like, a pure white... My wife was Armenian. She was mixed Armenian and French. And then in between her and my current partner, I had one girlfriend who was Black. So like I've never actually dated my own race, apparently. That just never occurred to me because like I just don't fucking care.
Because it's not a thing normal people think about.
And it's not that stupid like, oh, I don't see race. No, of course I fucking see race. Like you can't not see race. That's just stupid. Don't say that. I just don't care about like I'm not gonna judge you by the color of your skin. I'm going to judge you by the content of your character, to quote someone who was semi-influential in the United States.
Man, conservatives love that quote more than anybody else.
They do, but they misconstrue it all the fucking time.
Yeah, no, that quote hurts my brain.
And it's just like I want to celebrate all these different cultures and everything, but at the same time, like, no, they're not trying to replace white, but like, would it really be a bad thing if white people were replaced at this point? Like, I can't think of very many good arguments against, like, our food's not great. Like, it's okay. But like when people are deciding to go to a restaurant, or like they're never like, hey, let's go to the British restaurant.
What was that? I forget what show it is, but there's a show where a person was trying to like grab people that he thought might be a terrorist, or a cop was. And the dude comes in and the cop's looking at him and going, okay, so I don't believe that you're English. And he goes, no, I'm English. Okay, but you don't look it. All right, cool. What kind of food do you like? Oh, English food, like Chinese. Just like, yeah.
That's it. It actually kind of surprised me, like how many English restaurants you can get butter chicken at. And actually, so this is probably the most white person moment of my life. My first time ever having butter chicken, I was like, I didn't know it was curry. So I'm like picturing like a chicken breast that's like sauteed in garlic butter or some shit like that. So I was like, I had no idea what I was getting. And so like now to this day, I generally like like when we were in Toronto, my partner took me to her, like she lived in Toronto for several years, and she took me to her favorite Indian restaurant there where they do amazing butter chicken. And I tried the butter chicken there and it was great. But like still, when I think of butter chicken, it tastes like lies. Not because like I was picturing one thing and I got something else, and so now it's just so like in my brain it's just wired as like butter chicken is disappointment because that's what I expected, but that's not what I got.
So funny thing, I've actually never had butter chicken.
Well, then you need to go to this one little restaurant in Toronto because they actually do a really good butter chicken, and I regretted what I ordered because the butter chicken was so fucking good.
Well, at some point, I'll probably make my way there and just to bug the piss out of you. But
I look forward to it.
In the meantime,
come on, bring it, motherfucker.
Bring it. Okay,
let's go
fine.
to Toronto.
I
will take you for butter chicken in this restaurant that I don't even remember what it's called.
Let me just go get a passport real quick for both me and Saki. It'll work. I definitely have the money to do that. No, I don't.
So several speakers at the meeting on Thursday criticized the board for focusing on culture war issues this school year rather than like educational issues. Clearly, none of you see that your actions say loud and clear to us that you don't care about black and brown families in our district, said Harry Harris, a black father and former school board candidate. There were 60 students taking black history and 42 taking black literature. So that's 20 kids per class for black history and 14 kids per class for black literature because this is across 3 high schools. Those are decent class sizes. Like, I don't know what the average class size is, but like, I know like overall, so like this whole school district, like I said, serves about 70,000 people as opposed to the 500,000 people in the school district in my area. And for the high school I went to, most classes had about 20 kids in them. So these are not unpopular courses.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of how many people were even in my school classes. Just not important information, just popped in my head because of that.
Heidi is saying the Little India restaurant. That is my partner, for those of you who don't know.
Oh, okay.
So that's the restaurant in Toronto.
Well, at some point, I will have to try butter chicken there. At some point, I also just have to try butter chicken.
It's on the street that's right around the corner from the place that I ate a dick at.
Excuse?
Did you not see my my 10 things that don't make sense about Christianity? Where I ate a dick for point number 10?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, I stuck that dick right in my mouth.
Well, I know what I'm watching when we're off screen.
That was one of those moments where it's like, this has to be a one-take thing, because if I have to do it in 2 takes, I have to go buy another dick.
And where we're going, we can't afford new dicks.
No. And that was actually where I sent this to the chat group, so surely you saw this. It was the hot mic moment where like we'd stopped video recording, but I still had my microphone recording, where Shannon, so my partner was like, I want to get a picture of Justin licking the balls. And then Shannon was like, I'll hold your dick.
So I actually did not see that part of the group chat.
Oh, okay. Well, you need to pay better attention then.
A lot of stuff happens in the group chat sometimes when I'm asleep.
Yes. And I now have an audio recording of Shannon saying, I'll hold your dick while you go lick those balls. And then what's funny is I didn't see this at the time, but like in looking at the picture of me licking the balls afterwards, there's like 2 guys that I don't know that you can see in the reflection of like the window that's behind me that are like looking at me like, what the fuck is that guy doing?
His best, everybody. He's doing his best.
It was like it was a pastry shop. Like the dick was made out of waffle and it was dipped in chocolate or whatever. Then like next door was a shop that sold balls, and so it was like that was the big joke. It was like, this is the dick and balls shops. But
wait,
they had
balls
like,
as in the energy drink balls?
No, just like waffle balls or something, like donut balls.
Oh,
something like that. But it was like, it's right next to the dick shop, so it was funny. And they had like a little figurine outside with the balls on it.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, so during the discussion of the proposal, Stiglitz, that's the board member that is against removing these courses, asked why the matter was not taken to a committee first. We have a curriculum committee for a reason. Was this brought up? To which Randy Cook said, I value the curriculum committee on a lot of things, but on this item, my mind is made up. In other words, fuck black people. I don't want to teach about them.
It's amazing to me when somebody in the education system has basically gone, I will not hear arguments.
Do you remember Jane Puskar?
I do not. I'm terrible with names, though, so it makes sense.
Well, I had trouble with Jane Puskar last time. So she was the person that was elected because she had a bunch of funding from a conservative PAC.
Mm-hmm.
And she said,
I remember that story. Because we both had the same opinion that, like, if a political PAC is funding you, you shouldn't be on a school board.
Yeah. So Puskar says the committees and the superintendent and the administrators work for the board, and the board has the final decision. The Black History and Black Literature courses were targeted by Political Action Committee Francis Howell Families, which says the curriculum. And like this is the thing with the right wing is like anything with the name family in it, immediately
it's immediately bad.
My immediate thought is that's a hate group. Because they have family.
Because so often it is.
Focus on the family, family first. The Francis Howell Families.
Like it's a trigger word at this point.
Yeah. What about
black families? We know what we're
families?
getting into.
What about black families? Do we want black families to be represented here?
We would like them to be if we're going to have an organization that has the name families in the name. You'd think that their families matter.
So that's the thing. Like, I am not black. I'm not a person of color. I have not grown up with these things. So I don't know personally what it feels like to be in this. But, like, I have seen my partner be like I send my application out for jobs and I don't get calls back unless I use my middle name, which is more clearly a white name, whereas my first name is a black name. And I don't get calls back unless I use my middle name. But at the same time, her skin is light enough that she can be white passing. So a lot of times the black community doesn't necessarily accept her. So like I've seen the racial struggle in what is supposed to be a post-racism world, according to right-wing assholes.
Yeah, we were a post-legislated racism, but not actually racism.
No, it's not. That's not how it works. Like, I've seen the struggle. Like, I've not experienced the struggle. She has experienced that on a level that I will never be able to fully appreciate. But like, I can at least empathize with her. Anyway,
so it's the suck you life thing. Yeah.
Drew Harrison says, "Suck on my chocolate salty balls." So
so he's just Chef from South Park.
Yeah. Suck on my chocolate salty balls. That was one of the 4 episodes of South Park. Like, I never really got into South Park, but I feel like that was more because when it was airing on cable when I was a kid, the channel that it was on just had like 4 or 5 episodes that they showed on repeat. So like I saw those 4 or 5 episodes and it's like, okay, well, I've seen this one already. I'm going to turn it off now. That's boring.
Oh.
So I like anytime people reference South Park, I'm like, yeah, no, I saw those 4 episodes and the chocolate salty balls one was one of those episodes.
So much weird, like behind the scenes stuff for South Park. Like how when the actor who played Chef was a Scientologist.
Oh, was
he? And when they made their episode making fun of Scientology, he tried to get them to pull it basically, and the creators just went, no, we're keeping it. And so he quit, but they didn't have a way to like write Chef out of the show. So they just took all of the words that he had said in previous episodes and spliced them together to make his speech for episodes going forward instead of hiring a new actor. They were just like, no, he is Chef. So this is how it's going to be.
That's hilarious. Anyway, so Francis Howell Families says the curriculum is laced with leftist principles and critical race theory.
Like, you know, it's funny. I don't think they should give a shit about that. They're educators, right? It shouldn't matter if it's left or right. It should matter that it's correct.
Yeah, you'd think. Because facts don't care about your feelings. Unless you're on the right. Then suddenly my feelings matter way more than these facts.
My feelings about God are very important to me. It is my sincerely held religious belief.
Like, doesn't matter that the science says that, you know, sex and gender are on a spectrum. My feelings say that there's only male and female.
My feelings tell me when I think of a girl with a dick, I get real confused, and I don't like that.
I don't get confused.
That's cool, but the random conservative dad I'm making fun of definitely does.
If someone is attractive, they're attractive. Like, just enjoy it. If you're attracted to someone, just enjoy that attraction. Like, don't worry about the fucking labels. Just be like, hey, that person's hot. I like them.
Yeah, you'd think it would be that easy, but no, these people get very uncomfortable. I think the idea pops in their head of like what it would be like to bring their new spouse to the kitchen table with a bunch of other bigots, and they get very uncomfortable at that feeling, and then they just like stay steeped in their bigotry because of that level of cowardice.
Yeah.
That's just a guess I'd have.
Oh, yeah. Also, just in case you were in doubt, the school board in Francis Howell, completely made up of white people.
Figures. Sounds about white.
Yeah. So they say, when we think about social studies and education, it's teaching students who is human and how to treat people humanely. It's not trying to make kids patriotic or make kids hate America. It's to help kids see their humanity. So, like, that's the whole point of these courses, is like, you are human, black people are human, and you have different experiences about the world. So let's explore that a bit. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
Because there is nothing wrong with it.
It's inherently true.
Like, at the end of the day, all you're doing is you're just having a course that says, hey, other people existed, and sometimes their experience is informed by these other things that happened. Like, when we learn about the Trail of Tears, we're not doing it so that you say, man, fuck white people who came here from Europe. I hate my ancestors. That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to go like, hey.
Yeah, but also fuck those white people that came here from Europe. Because they did fucking suck.
Point. The point isn't to say fuck them. The point is to say, hey,
I mean,
there are people whose experiences are very informed by these things that happened in the past, and they don't just go away. It's one of the reasons why there's so many like drugs and drinking problems in native populations.
Yeah. So I'm not going to dox myself here, but like, my last name, if the only famous people, like quote unquote famous, they're not really famous, but like the most notorious thing that happened that involved anyone with my last name, we were the bad guys in that situation. I'm not proud of the historical event that actually has my last name attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the ancestor of mine who is the reason that last name was attached end up being hanged by a mob because they were the bad guy. And I'm just like, that's the thing we're most well known for.
Oof.
But like, that doesn't make me hate white people. That's just like,
no, that makes you not like the specific people.
My ancestor was a dick. That doesn't make me a dick. Like,
also, I just got a raid from Tipster. I want to go ahead and say before I forget, thank you so much for the raid, Tipster. Hopefully your stream went well.
Hi, Tipster. I don't know who you are, but thanks for the raid to Cirrus.
Lucky Otter says, what did your ancestor do?
I am not telling because I don't want to dox myself.
There you go. Otherwise, people are going to start putting 2 and 2 together in 23andMe Rhino. They'll trace him through his bloodline and kill him.
Actually, what's funny is my dad, he found out that his wife, who is my stepmother, not my actual mother, he's big into Ancestry.com sort of stuff. Like, he sent his DNA off for testing and finding out who the ancestors are and everything. And he's found out that like he's actually a very distant cousin of his current wife. But like, their last ancestor was like from the 1500s or something. But like one of his Christmas presents to us this year was it's like it's just cash. Like, hey, when you go on vacation in the summer, we'll give you some cash. But like on the backside of the paper that said that was also the family tree tracing, here's my wife's family history and here's my family history, and this is where they intersect. So yeah, we're inbreeding. Yay.
Oh boy.
I mean, like, not inbreeding because they're not having more kids, but like it's still kind of funny.
You just look at it and you go like, oh, that happened.
And it's far enough ago in the past as like, you know, 20th cousin or something. So it's not like it's inbreeding. It's just normal British inbreeding.
Normal British inbreeding? What's normal British inbreeding, Rhino?
Have you met the royal family?
This is just the regular inbreeding you expect of the crown. They call it bangers and mash because there's only cousins in the family tree.
Gotta get the mushy peas in there.
Oh my god.
Anyway, back to the news article that we're ostensibly talking about.
It's at this point, it's just a framework for other conversation, let's be honest.
Yeah. The Black Literature course focuses on contemporary and multi-genre literary works of Black authors and will celebrate the dignity and identity of Black voices. Sounds fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are voices that have consistently been repressed in society, so let's give them a little boost. I don't see a problem with that.
No, the only thing we're allowed to learn about is that George Washington Carver existed. That's it. There's your Black history. Moving on. Martin Luther King might have been around at some point. We don't know.
He had a dream. You know, it's just like that song from Tangled. I had a dream. I had a dream.
You know, I forget that song exists. Even when I see that one meme of like the dude from the movie with all the swords around him, I still forget that song existed.
It's a decent song.
It's not bad.
I like the message of that movie is that like these terrifying looking ruffians in the pub are just normal people with their own hopes and dreams. Like, yeah, this guy wants to look tough, but he also wants to be a pianist.
Let's see. It's interesting when you bring up her to some acknowledge only two genders because they ignore everything. Yeah, when you bring up somebody who's intersex to people who only understand two gender stuff, their brain kind of fries.
Okay, so Lekka School says, I agree with Heidi, but I haven't really been reading the chat, so I don't know what Heidi's been saying. But I can say confidently that I probably also agree with Heidi. And I'm not just saying that because, like, oh, she's my partner. She'll get mad at me if I don't agree with her. Because, no, we disagree about stuff. But, like, with reference to whatever we're talking about, I probably agree with her. I've probably learned whatever I'm saying from her. Because, like I said, I haven't had these experiences personally. I'm a white guy. Society was built for me.
But you learn about these by shock, talking with people who've had those experiences around you.
Learning about them. It would be nice if there was like a school system that like enhanced these voices so you could like read these other perspectives on history. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be really cool if we had.
If only Francis Howell didn't vote against that.
No, don't you understand, Rhino? On this issue, his mind is made up.
Yeah. Anyway, like the whole point of this basically is that like these conservatives, they don't actually care about kids getting a good education because like this, like realistically, having this can only benefit the kids that get this education. Like the kids that go to this class, that will be a benefit to them. They will now experience alternate viewpoints that are not just the white people telling the white side of the story. They will actually experience like, this is what it was like to be a black person during Reconstruction or one of these other significant historical events. Like that can only be beneficial to be able to understand someone else's perspective. Like,
well, especially if you start talking about stuff that happened during, say, segregation, and then you point out like how recent that was in the grand scope of things. And then you get that fun realization for a kid where they're like, wait a minute, the great grandparent of my best friend probably went through that. Like that's a thing that will end up happening organically because these kids know math. They'll figure that part out. They'll put two and two together and go, oh. And then suddenly they might start talking to their friend about, hey, can I meet some of your extended family? And suddenly now you've got a whole bunch of good conversations and socializing going between groups. And, you know, that's only a good thing. But his mind is made up, Rhino. His mind is made up.
Yeah, apparently. Anyway, next news item.
Life begins at conception? Fine. I'm still pro-choice because I believe that you should be allowed to murder your own kids. This is your kid. Who am I to tell you what to do with something that you made? If I make a kid, it's mine. I made him. I invented him out of thin air and a lack of ambition. That is my kid. Without me, he doesn't exist at all. So he shouldn't be mad at me. He should be thanking me that he got the 8 years that he got, or however much time I decide is appropriate.
I love that clip. I don't even know if that comedian is like a good one or a bad one. Like maybe he was going to a really dark place with that I would be like, ooh, no, that was a bit too far. But I feel like that kind of encapsulates the whole Christian God can genocide us because he created us, so he has the right to do that sort of thing.
It's his right to kill his kids.
Like that's kind of what I feel. But like, anyway, banning abortion was front and center at Christian Nationals Conference addressed by Speaker Mike Moses Johnson. And yeah, so that's a priest in the Catholic Church who, you know, just statistically speaking, probably also a pedophile. I'm just going to say allegedly there for legal purposes.
Like just in case, probably is.
Priest in the Catholic Church that looks like that, probably a pedophile. But I don't know for sure. I'm just guessing. Anyway, that's Frank Pavone. Frank Pavone? I don't know. He's an anti-abortion hardliner who was actually kicked out of the priesthood by Pope Francis this year. He says that banning abortion was front and center throughout the day during a recent meeting of the National Association of Christian Lawmakers, the gathering which Speaker of the House Mike Johnson declared that God had prepared him to be a Moses leading America in the Red Sea moment. I'm not sure if we covered that in detail, but Mike Johnson thinks he's Moses. He thinks he's the modern-day Moses. To which I say, fine, go in the speaker thing, cast your gavel down, and have it turned into a snake. And when you do that, then maybe we'll take you fucking seriously.
You can be the modern day Moses when you strike a rock and water flows out of it, and everybody gets to drink from your rock water.
I want to drink from Mike Johnson's stones. That's what Cyrus just said, not me.
I
was
said
just paraphrasing
rock
Cyrus.
water.
Yep, stones. What? Stone, rock, same thing. You want to drink from Mike Johnson's stones?
It sounds like you said you want to drink from Mike Johnson's stones.
I've heard that zinc supplements make you come bigger.
I've also heard they help with colds, but I've never heard anything about coming bigger.
Well, apparently someone on Threads posted glop, glop, glop. And then people were like, oh, glop is when lots of guys come on you. And then she was like, oh, that's kind of gross. I didn't know that. I just thought glop was a funny word. And then other people were like, take your zinc supplements, boys.
I take zinc when I feel like I'm going to have a cold. I don't think I want to take it to come better. For science, I'm going to have to see if it creates a larger load capacity.
I mean, edging does that too.
Yeah.
Maybe zinc plus edging.
I'm impatient, though. I'm kidding.
You're a bad lover, Cyrus. That's what we've noticed here.
I will not comment further.
So anyway, as voters across the country reject MAGA Republicans' abortion bans and the GOP's strategists fear the issue will hurt their electoral prospects in 2024, Johnson has publicly downplayed the priority of a national abortion ban for congressional Republicans. But as Pavone's report makes clear, abolishing abortion is still a priority for the religious right movement from which Johnson emerged. I'm drinking scotch tonight, so that means I'm more sloshed than normal. So my words are coming out a bit more slurred.
You're also just talking about Mike Johnson, though, so it's okay for you to. It's okay.
I am
for
talking
you to
about
phone
your
it
Johnson. I am talking about your
not
Johnson.
My Johnson, Mike Johnson, not my Mike's Johnson, but Mike Johnson.
The Kent Hovind School for Kids Who Can't God Good says men should have about 11 milligrams daily just for normal load production. I don't know. I don't take zinc supplements, and I've never noticed a problem with my load size. In fact,
to
my understanding,
I see.
To my understanding, the receiver of the load would generally prefer it to be smaller rather than bigger. So like,
okay,
because it's not like it's yummy. The porn,
I hear if you eat
porn
pineapple,
stars,
you can fix that.
The porn stars are lying. They're acting. That's what they're doing. And like realistically, if someone in real life is acting like it tastes good, it's because they care about how you perceive that moment. They are trying to give you more pleasure by acting like it tastes good, because it doesn't actually taste good, even if you eat pineapple. It's salty snot. Like, come on. There's nothing good about
where?
that.
Come on, where?
The eyeballs.
No, that just burns.
It does, but when it happens in porn movies, they laugh.
It gets on the... Look, okay, so there was a porn I watched ages ago, and it was...
Oh,
shit.
It was the
first time...
I pulled the skin off when I ripped on it.
Not that one. It was the first time I ever heard glasses called cum shields.
I mean, fair. Glasses are also sexy, so why not? Anyway, we're talking about Johnson. He's not got a good name for this conversation.
Nope.
Johnson helped draft and defend successive Louisiana laws aimed at tightly regulating abortion providers, helping make abortion increasingly inaccessible in the state, even as the procedure remained technically legal. So Johnson is very much anti-abortion. He's pushing for anti-abortion legislation. He would be happy with the national abortion ban, despite the whole states' rights thing that they said, like, oh, no, it doesn't matter that the Supreme Court says it's going to be decided at the state level. It's not going to be, it's not going to be a national thing. But no, now that the Supreme Court has thrown it back to the states, they're all like, oh, let's try national now.
Well, yeah, because the entire thing is give an inch, take a mile. They got a little bit of headway. Now they're going to try to push it everywhere they can.
But also, apparently, Johnson, when the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, he celebrated by tweeting out a thing that ended with perform an abortion and get imprisoned at hard labor for 1 to 10 years and fined $10,000 to $100,000. So, like, he's celebrating the punishment of people providing abortions.
So he wants there to be fewer doctors available in the United States for people who need them.
Yeah, so I looked into it. The red states are losing doctors, like Texas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Idaho. They're all losing doctors, obstetricians in particular, because they're the ones who deal with pregnancy. And so, like, is this what you want? And this, like, I know you guys have that whole states' rights thing, but, like, just make fucking healthcare a federal right for everybody and have fully staffed hospitals everywhere. Like, because that's the thing. A lot of obstetrics wards are shutting down in rural areas, even in blue states, because it's not profitable, because they have to have staff on 24/7 in case that one pregnant woman shows up, because obstetrics is expensive. But if you socialize that shit, it's paid for by the government. So, like, yeah, we probably aren't going to have someone show up at midnight on a Tuesday night, like, in labor. But sometimes it happens. And when that person goes into labor at midnight on a Tuesday night, they need a doctor. Because in these places where they don't have obstetrics wards, they have, like, twice the rate of maternal mortality, or 3 times the rate of fetal mortality, or baby mortality, I guess.
What was that one argument that conservatives like to use all the time, where they would say that it's modern day slavery if you force a doctor to perform an abortion? And
no, the doctors are leaving the states where they're not allowed to perform abortions, because it's like, oh, if I provide my patient with health care, I might go to jail. I don't think I want to work in a state that's going to do that.
Jack Harper, I understand you've got one brain cell. You don't have to announce it to the class. Anyways.
What's Jack Harper saying?
my tax return is more important than universal health care. No, you're just a moron.
So
like
here's
I'm done entertaining
Jack,
the words
Jack,
you say.
I am Canadian. I have socialized healthcare. If I go to the doctor, it's fucking free. I get to look on my taxes. They have it itemized, so I can see how much of my money goes to healthcare. I have never paid more than $700 per year for my entire family to have healthcare. The average American, if they have a family, pays like $1,200 a month. I forget the exact number, but it's some ridiculous number like that. Like per month, they pay more than I do per year for healthcare. So fuck off with this socialized medicine is more expensive. Like, no, insurance companies is still socialized medicine. It's still the group paying for the individual's healthcare. It's just now in the hands of companies that their whole thing is I want to turn a profit. So they have to charge more in order to turn that profit. Whereas if you make it government controlled, the profit motive is gone. So it's just fucking healthcare. So I pay $700 per year for something that you guys pay $1,200 per month for. And that's not even including the fucking deductible and copays and shit.
Look, you're not in my chat, so you haven't seen the next fun cold take, which would be, again, the last thing I entertain. But it says, yeah, but I value my money more than your healthcare. That's cool. Then die.
Okay. I hope you don't fucking have insurance, because that's you paying for other people's healthcare. Believe it or not, when you pay your insurance premiums, you are paying for other people's healthcare, and you are paying for the profit for the insurance company. So, like, you're already doing that. Socializing it makes it cheaper for you, you fucktard. Sorry, that's not... I don't...
Nah, it's a perfectly reasonable thing to call them. They earned it.
No. I don't like things that end with the tard thing. That's ableist. That...
We can go with fuckwit.
Yeah, fuckwit. Let's go with fuckwit. I apologize for that, because, like, that... I don't know. I was angry. I apologize. And I'm a little bit drunk.
That's understandable. I am of the opinion that I care about other people's lives and well-being up until the point where they communicate with me that they don't care about other people's lives and well-being. So for me, all they did was categorize themselves as a person that I don't care if they live anymore, because they don't care if other people live.
John says, ask him if he's saving enough tax money to buy himself a coffin. Anyway, yeah, the whole point of this article is that the right wing is still pushing anti-abortion shit, even though they've already got their anti-abortion shit passed. Like, they're the dog that caught the car at this point. Hopefully that'll help them lose some elections.
They caught the thing they've been fighting for all along.
Yeah, okay. So let's move on to the next article.
Membership in NATO obligates the members to defend any other member that's attacked. So let's say Montenegro, which joined last year, is attacked. Right. Why should my son go to Montenegro to defend it from attack? Why is that?
I understand what you're saying. I've asked the same question.
Yeah, so Trump has... No, sorry. Fuck Trump. Whatever. Congress has approved legislation that would prevent any president from withdrawing the United States from NATO without approval from the Senate or an act of Congress. And this was a bipartisan bill that was spearheaded by Democrat Senator Tim Kaine and Marco fucking Rubio, who is a piece of shit, for the record. So this is... Like, we don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but basically the Republican Party is preparing for a Trump presidency by blocking Trump from doing things preemptively. Like, I don't want, like that clip was him interviewing with Tucker Carlson, being like, yeah, no, I don't see the point in NATO. I don't want to send Americans to die in defense of countries that aren't America.
But if we get attacked as well, then we get defended. That's the point of NATO.
Yeah. That is the whole point of NATO. But, because Trump is in Putin's pocket, Putin doesn't like NATO. Like, Putin is the reason that NATO fucking exists, to protect people from Putin. But Trump is in Putin's pocket. So he's like, no, I don't like NATO. NATO is not good. We don't want to send Americans to die for other people. And this is where I was getting at earlier with the whole Trump is the Neville Chamberlain. The guy that, like, when I was a hardcore right-wing nut job, we derided Neville Chamberlain for like being weak. Like, no, how dare you not stand up to Hitler in the early days? It was clear what Hitler was doing, and you were appeasing him. Well, you know what? It's clear what fucking Putin is doing, and Trump is trying to appease him. He's the Neville Chamberlain. And then he's like, oh, Joe Biden's starting all the wars. It's like, no, Joe Biden's actually standing up to Putin instead of just giving him what he fucking wants.
You know, it's weird. So in the United States, we fetishize the military, right?
Mm-hmm.
We fetishize the military to a point where it is normal practice for the United States military to fund propaganda pieces that are done by Hollywood. Like, this is a normal, understood thing that happens in America. If you were wondering why there was so much like military fetishization in the Transformers movies, that's because they were funded by the U.S. military. So it's funny to me, living in this country and knowing which types of people glorify the military the most, how they're also the ones who would immediately go, at least in Trump's case, no, we don't want to use the stick we've been sharpening for tens of decades. No, bad. Never, ever. Then again, I guess I couldn't expect anything else from Admiral Bonespurs.
Yeah. Yeah, my main point with this one was basically like the Republican Party, who is gearing up to support Trump for his fucking presidential run, is, well, simultaneously, while they are supporting him, they are passing legislation specifically to inhibit him, because he has come out and been like, I don't see the point in NATO. I don't like NATO. I don't want to do anything with NATO. Oh, the other NATO countries aren't paying as much as the United States, so we shouldn't support them. He's doing exactly what Putin wants, and so now they're like, maybe we should stop him from being able to withdraw from NATO unilaterally.
Maybe it would be a good idea as a just in case, especially because
they're preparing the separation of powers that is supposed to be inherent to the different branches of the United States government. They're like trying to build that up in advance of maybe Trump will win again. So let's all just fucking go out and vote not Trump. When I say let's all go, like, I can't vote because I'm not American. So like, just vote for fucking Biden. I know he fucking sucks. Like, yeah, we don't like Biden. He's milquetoast as fuck. He's way more progressive than we thought he would be originally. But
if you want to talk about weakness in a president personified,
he still fucking sucks. He still fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I know the lesser of two evil is a fucking stupid. And this is the thing that I struggle with, because like V LaBianca, you know V?
Yes.
So they are very much of the I'm not going to vote for Biden just because he's the lesser of two evils thing. Like, they are very much, I will vote for the most progressive candidate ever, no matter what.
Okay.
But also, like, they posted on Twitter about how, like, they recently moved from Texas to Washington. And then on their LinkedIn, the people that were viewing their profile the most worked for the Texas Attorney General's office. So, like, that's fucking terrifying. So you need to vote for not Trump, because if Trump gets in, then the fucking Texas Attorney General might be able to be like, hey, you got a hysterectomy in Washington. You're going to jail now.
Yeah.
So like, and I get why you wouldn't want to vote for Biden. I fucking get that. I understand. Biden is milquetoast as fuck. But like, a little, like, you're not going to, like, with the general population, you are not going to get massive progress in any single election. So the way you get progress is by voting as progressive as you can in the primaries, and then just sucking it up and voting for whatever the Democratic candidate is in the final. Because the reason Biden is more progressive than we thought he was going to be is because he saw how many votes that Bernie got in the primaries. And he's like, oh, I better appeal to these people.
And he wants to keep that pie.
I better appeal to that segment of the population. So I need to be more progressive than I thought I had to be.
It's kind of frustrating, the amount of people who have that particular opinion, because I've stated before, I have a vehement dislike of that particular opinion. I'm not going to vote for the lesser of two evils when it comes time for the general election. I don't like it because it's an opinion that puts ideals over reality. And yeah. I know it feels infantilizing when I word it that way to some people, but The truth of the matter is,
and like, I fucking love V. V is amazing, but I strongly disagree with them on this point.
There's a lot of friends of mine who I value their opinions on a lot of things, but if I disagree with them on something, it's also perfectly reasonable. Especially if it's something that, I don't know, could potentially lead to my partner not being able to get her estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, my partner's body
and
cannot produce
I said,
hormones.
V is
so
being,
it's actually a survival thing.
V is being actively, like, creeped on by the Texas Attorney General's office.
Yeah?
Because they've been public about their hysterectomy. Like, do we... Like, I understand that Joe Biden doesn't do enough for them. But that doesn't mean I want them to be prosecuted for having health care.
The argument that I generally find is when people go, I don't vote for the lesser of two evils in the general election because it sends a message to the Democrats. Yeah, and then we get 4 years of people dying.
No, that's why I say you vote as progressive. You vote as progressive as possible in the primaries, and then you just suck it up and vote for the milquetoast moderate Democratic candidate. And then they will see how many votes that the progressive candidates got in the primaries and be like, oh, I need to be more progressive.
And if you get enough people voting for the progressive...
That is how you send the fucking message.
And if you get enough people voting for the progressive in the primaries where you were supposed to do in the first place, then you get the progressive on the ballot instead. There you go. Motivate, get people to vote in the primaries. There's too many people in the United States that do not vote in their general election and do not vote in the primaries. Mm-hmm. Or they only vote in the general election. They don't vote in local elections, and they don't vote in the primaries.
Yeah, and why the fuck does Iowa get the first caucus thing? Like, why is that even a thing? Fuck Iowa. I know there's like 3 of you that live in Iowa. Thank you for the potatoes, but fuck off. You're not. You're that thinking important. Idaho. No, the Iowa caucus isn't it Iowa that gets the first caucus?
No, potatoes. Idaho is potatoes.
What does Iowa do then?
Corn.
Oh. So they're the reason that Doritos exist?
Sure.
Thanks for the Doritos, Iowa. Now vote for the progressives, or caucus for the progressives, because why the fuck do you even do a caucus? That's such stupid
for the progressives.
Yeah, so I like the word caucus, but like it's such a stupid process. If you're not familiar, the Iowa caucus is basically you get in a high school gymnasium and you go stand with people that agree with you about who the candidate should be, and then when they get eliminated, you go stand with your second favorite or whatever. I don't know. It's a stupid process. It's fuck you, Iowa. Do it later. Let a more important state take the lead there.
Florida?
No.
They're a swing state.
No, they're not. Not anymore.
Okay,
let's do some tweets. I got some funny case orbs shit. Let's do tweets.
Okay.
Fuck elections. We got tweets. Why do atheists buy Christmas trees and gifts for their children? I don't know, Kevin, because it's fucking fun.
Like it's because
like, hey,
why? The better question
is Bluey the reason for the season?
The better question is, why do Christians buy Yule trees and capitalist gifts for their kids?
The Bible explicitly forbids Christmas trees. I want to say this in Jeremiah, but I'm a little bit drunk, so I might be wrong.
Like which does it doesn't matter, case orbs, because Christians shouldn't be doing it either.
Yeah.
But we all do it because it's fun.
Yeah, no, the original war on Christmas was Puritans, hardcore Christians that are like, hey, this celebration that you guys are doing is not reverent enough. We need to make it super duper serious. This is about the birth of Jesus, man. You're not supposed to give gifts and have fun. You're supposed to spend the day thinking about how horrible a person you are and how grateful you are that Jesus came to save you. That was the war on Christmas originally. But now they're like, oh no, if we don't commercialize it enough, then the libs have won.
I'm glad that I was never a fan of Kevin Sorbo's acting.
I did enjoy Hercules as a child.
Hercules was that show along with Xena that like I saw once and went, that's probably cool, and then I never watched again.
Yeah, no, I watched it as a kid. I don't remember much of it, and I never went back to it. Like, I went back to Star Trek The Next Generation. I went back to Pokemon, even though I don't really like Pokemon anymore as the show. It's kind of dumb. Sorry.
It's dumb, but
the 90s,
it's dumber in English.
Yeah, no, the 90s show was dumb. But like, I never went back. Like, I never even felt the urge to go back and watch Hercules. I do, however, regularly rewatch the clip of him trying to have an accent in the Revelation Road series. I don't even know what accent he's going for, but he's so bad at it, it's hilarious. And dude, like the way he says territories, like territories, like, you were here in the king's territories. And it's hilarious. And it's so bad that they actually took a moment in the movie to like film a scene where like him and David A.R. White are like he comes aside and he just talks to him in his normal voice, and David A.R. White's like, where'd your accent go? And like, oh, if I put on the accent for the people, it makes me more mysterious.
Oh
so
my
it's like
God.
They actually had a scene to explain why his accent was so bad in the fucking movie. It's amazing. I highly recommend watching Revelation Road. It's on YouTube. You're not going to be giving them too much money by watching it there. It's so fucking bad. And he's wearing like this ridiculous like fur coat type thing.
More ridiculous than the single bit of furry cloth he wore for Hercules?
Yeah, way more ridiculous than that.
Okay.
Because he's trying to be a tough guy in it, but he's not. He's just Kevin Sorbo.
Kevin Sorbo, noted tough guy?
Yeah.
Trademark?
This was also from Kevin Sorbo. I didn't capture the tweet. I just saved the meme.
Oh, I saw this one.
The Three Wise Men says, there was no pandemic. Climate change is a hoax. Men can't get pregnant. And they're giving gifts of gold, common sense, and unvaccinated sperm. So I'm just like, why are you giving unvaccinated sperm to a baby? If you are giving your sperm to a baby, if you are giving sperm to a baby, that's a fucking problem.
No,
you
don't
need to be
understand.
in jail. You need to be in jail.
The baby Jesus needs his cummies.
I came in the baby Jesus' face.
I need the baby Jesus to come inside me.
And that's why I was wise. Like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck even is this? This is what goes for conservative humor. And it's funny because they're stupid. It's not even funny because of any of the normal rules of comedy. It's funny because they just accidentally implied that one of the wise men gave baby Jesus his cum.
Conservative humor 9 times out of 10 is, it's funny because I'm not supposed to say it.
Yeah, no, their whole thing, like, I haven't seen the most recent Ricky Gervais thing, but I've heard other people talking about it, and it's basically, it's kind of sad because it's just him saying like, oh, you know what else the woke people won't let me say? This. And I just said this. Ha, ha, it's funny because I said this, and that offends them. You're like, okay, no, you can do offensive comedy. Like, you can still do offensive comedy, and it can still be funny, but just being like, hey, this is offensive, and I just said it, so it's funny. Like, no, that's just lazy. Fuck off with that shit. Like, Ricky Gervais used to be funny, but he's not anymore because he's trying to pander to conservatives that their whole brand now is just triggering the libs. Except the stuff they do doesn't actually trigger the libs. It's just like, okay, that's kind of dumb. Like the trailer that we watched for Lady Ballers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, that doesn't even look funny. It just looks like you're trying to do a thing that you think will make us angry, but like, it's not even funny. Like, at least make it funny.
What sucks about, so I had a friend who was very conservative, and I've talked about it on my channel a few times because that particular falling out stung a lot because I considered him a very good friend.
Yeah.
But I do remember a conversation we had about Ben Shapiro once. And it's weird because this is one of those conversations that you expect to have in like a forum. Like not a conversation you have with normal fucking people. where he goes, you know Ben Shapiro, right? Like, yeah, God, he makes them libs so mad. What? That's the thing that I expect to see in like backwash Twitter.
No, we laugh at him because he says sell your flooded house to Aquaman.
Reminds me of the moment earlier in my stream, somebody who I'm not going to say tried to say that you don't need any type of media oversight in the world because parents always should be keeping an eye on what their kids are watching, and parental controls are available on, and I'm going to try to quote this as best as I can, iPads, phones, TVs, and books.
And books?
So I grabbed a book from my closet. It was the copy of Resident Evil 0 that I have. And I just flipped through it real quick, noted how dusty it was because I haven't read it in a while, but flipped through it a bunch and just went, I can't find the fucking parental controls. Where are they? I have no idea where these are, but I'm told they're here.
I got my kid, one of my kids, the like physical book guide to Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
He fucking loves it, but he's like, first day he was like, can you unlock my Switch so I can like use the book to play Tears of the Kingdom? I'm like, just read the fucking book. It's Christmas Day. Read your book. Don't play video games or like play with the other kids. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I just thought it was funny that Kevin sort like tweeting a thing about giving sperm to a baby. Like, why?
Baby Jesus needs his cummies.
Yeah. And
I can't read that. What does that say?
This was fun. So John Cleese, this is not the main thing I want to talk about. So John Cleese tweeted, this was a joke, 5 ways that Hitler was preferable to Trump. 1, he fought for his country. 2, he never used a teleprompter. 3, he was nice to dogs. 4, he wrote his own books. 5, he never played golf. And 6, he wasn't a big fat slob. You know,
okay.
Classic John Cleese giving 6 lists in a list of 5. Fine, whatever. 5 ways Trump is preferable to Hitler. 1, he doesn't practice genocide. 2, he has nicer hair. 3, 4, 5. Like, okay, that's a reasonably funny joke. That's not one of John Cleese's best, but it's reasonably funny.
Mm-hmm.
What's extra funny about this was Sargon of Akkad replied to this, like, it seems like you're saying that you prefer Hitler to Trump, FYI.
No, it doesn't.
That's the fucking joke!
Like,
that's the joke, Carl! That's the joke!
It only seems like it's an actual note of preference if your ability to understand hyperbole has just died.
Like, Carl is British! This is classic British dry humor! Like, here are all the good things about Hitler. Ha ha ha, it's all superficial shit that doesn't even matter. Here's the good things about Trump. He doesn't practice genocide. He has nice hair, which he objectively does not. That's the joke! Like, Sargon missing this joke made my fucking day today. Like, I saw that, I burst out laughing, I sent it to you, or like, I sent you a hint that this was what I was going to cover.
Yeah,
like,
you mentioned we were going to talk about Sargon.
It's just like, that's classic British humor. How can you fucking miss that? That's amazing. Like, forget this. This was like mediocre funny. Like, it's okay. It's not John Cleese's best. It's not his worst either. It's moderately amusing. But Sargon missing it, especially being British himself, is just like, that's amazing. Like, mwah.
Well,
I could not have made anything funnier than that.
It's even funnier when you remember the types of things that Sargon thinks are humorous. If you remember when he was trying to be MP.
Yeah, like his like, I wouldn't even rape her. That thing.
Yes, that.
Yeah.
Like,
speaking
the
of which,
types of things he considers humorous.
So the debate that he was supposed to have on that with Thomas Smith.
Yeah.
Actually fucking love Thomas Smith. He's a great guy. He's on the Dear Old Dads podcast. He's on the Where There's Woke podcast, which I highly recommend, especially if you have ADHD. That's like ADHD candy, where he's on like a 27 episode series on the renaming of the James Webb Telescope and like how James Webb actually was a terrible choice for that. And like he just went into this deep dive that ended up with like a like almost audio drama about this trial of 3 black men where this prosecutor named Stennis was trying to get these guys the death penalty, even though there was zero evidence that they did anything. And like it's this fucking fascinating journey that, like, as a person with ADHD, I'm like following it intensely. I'm like, no, give me all the fucking details.
Is this why I like the new H Bomber Guy format
maybe
so much?
Yeah, like the 3-hour video on the oof sound. Yeah, that's amazing.
Or the 4-hour video on the on plagiarism.
4-hour video on plagiarism. Yeah. There's like I've had enough whiskey now. I don't remember if this was live or if this was before we went live, but we talked about Doctor Who quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. That was live.
Yeah, so a lot of the points that, like, I articulated the points about why I'm not watching it anymore much better than I would have had I not seen the 5-hour video from JXE about Chibnall's Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
But like everything he said was like, yeah, that actually does remind me, like, that actually is a good reason why, like, because I wasn't like thinking about it consciously, but it was just like, I'm not enjoying this as much as I did the previous seasons, and I can't quite place my finger on it. And then he made a 5-hour video and was like, yes, that's exactly it. Like, the companions never questioned the Doctor, whereas in previous seasons, integral parts of the plot were always the companions being like, hey, Doctor, that's fucking immoral. Don't do that.
Not all of us can regenerate after we die.
Whereas Chibnall's Doctor was like, no, everything she does is perfect. It wasn't even about regeneration. It was just like, she teleported them into the cold vacuum of space, where if it hadn't been for a massive coincidence, they all would have died. And that was just never addressed. Like, they were never like, hey, you massively endangered our lives by doing that. Why would you do that? It was just like, oh no, you're actually the best person because you're the Doctor, and the Doctor is always the best person. And like, that was one of those things where, like, it never sat well with me, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But then I watched that 5-hour video in several sittings because I can't sit down and watch a fucking 5-hour video. What do you?
Yeah, no, it's the type of thing that I always end up having on my phone and on my PC.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, you watch it a little bit when you're doing something, then you watch it a little bit while you're, you know, like on the way to go pick up food. It's just playing in the background.
Yeah. But like, without JXC making that video, I wouldn't have been able to quite articulate this. But like, everything he said was like, yeah, no, that actually explains why I didn't like that Doctor very much. And it's like, I wanted to like that Doctor because it was the woke one where the Doctor's finally a girl. It's finally a woman Doctor.
The left told you were supposed to love it.
Like, I'm supposed to love... Yeah, that was it. Like, I'm supposed to love this, but I just don't. And I feel like I should, but I don't. And it wasn't because it went woke. It was because Chibnall sucked. And I hope it gets better with the future seasons. So I will watch the 3rd special. And Shannon is really mad about that in our group chat because apparently the Doctor kills people. I don't know. So
no, I've seen Batman kill enough people.
We'll see. Well, yeah, and there was that Superman thing where he snapped his Zod's neck.
Yeah,
like, that was after he like destroyed an entire city and probably killed a bunch of people in the process.
It was after he had a whole Dragon Ball Z fight. But don't worry, the next snap, that was the straw.
Yeah,
it felt like that in the theater, though. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there was a.
So, Frank Turek. This is what he was tweeting on Christmas fucking Day. The day that his Lord and Savior was born. He says, transgender ideologists say you can change your sex, but the truth is you can't change your chromosomal makeup, your gene makeup. You can change your mind, but not your biology.
Okay, cool. I don't fuck people's chromosomes.
Well, also, so yeah, no, fine, whatever, grant that. Gender identity is not the same as sex. Fine. Even if I grant that, you're still an idiot. But also, it's been shown that there's one single gene in humans that if you deactivate it, it will reverse their gonadal sex.
Wait, what?
I forget the fucking study. So please look this up. Don't just take my word for it. I've had too much scotch for you to trust me on this. But like, there's one single gene that if you deactivate that gene, your gonadal sex will flip. And like maybe not your chromosomal sex, but your gonadal sex, which is one of the things that these anti-trans bigots will always latch on to. Like, oh, you can't change what gonads you make. Like, well, yeah.
What?
If you just flip off this one single fucking gene as an adult, it will actually change which gonads or which gametes, whatever. I always say gametes, and people make fun of me for it, but fuck it. That's how I learned it. It's gametes.
Kind of weird to think about that. So if gonads are something they care about so much, are cis women who have full hysterectomies, like where the ovaries are removed and everything too?
No, they don't actually care about the fucking data. What are you... Yeah. Stop getting all nuanced and shit, Cyrus.
That's my job! It's literally my job.
Yeah, mine too.
We picked the wrong career path.
I mean, relevant to your discussion earlier, I'm actually considering I'm kind of behind on my work because of the holidays and the renovations that are happening in my house and a bunch of other shit that's going on as well. So I'm actually considering for my, not this Friday's video, but for the next Friday's video, rather than doing a scripted edited video, I'm just going to like read an article and give my off-the-cuff response to whatever I find in that article.
Okay.
And just as I need to have a video out for that week, and I don't have time to actually make a video, so I'm just going to do a low-effort shit.
It's just the same thing we do on Twit Tweets.
Yeah, but also I feel like that might do well, and I'm not sure what that would mean for the future of my channel. If like low-effort garbage will do well, why would I put effort into it?
It's kind of a terrifying prospect.
Because also like the video that is scheduled for this Friday that I have done, it's not low effort per se, but they're like at the end I kind of go off the rails, and I got to a point where it's like, I have addressed this point so many times. Can I just have some fun with it? Like, my audience knows, most of them. Like, yeah, it's going to be someone's first video. Most of my audience knows, so I'm just going to fucking make fun of this guy. I'm just going to rip into him. Like as the video progressive, like, my newest videos, I always have, like, the suit jacket and bow tie. So, like, as this one progresses, like, first my bow tie comes undone, and then my suit jacket comes off, and then my shirt comes undone, and you see my undershirt underneath. And, you know, yeah, I did kind of plan that out, but I'm also off the rails a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I had fun with it, but it was also a lot of effort. So like I'm kind of curious where this is going to land in the YouTuber paradox, because like the YouTuber paradox is if you put effort into something, nobody watches it. But if you just do low effort bullshit, everybody watches it. So this is like, I put effort into it, but it's effort that makes it look like low effort bullshit.
You'll have to let me know how that ends up turning out, because
yeah. I hope it does well. I think the thumbnail is catchy enough that people will click on it, but I don't know. Scott Delahunt is saying a slow rhino striptease. Yeah, if you want to see my dick, I will start an OnlyFans and I will show you my dick, because I have no shame. It's not impressive, but like, it's there. It's a dick.
It's there.
It's, you know, it's not above average, but it's not below average either.
It's just what you would want in a proper pecker.
It's just there. But it's a dick. Does anybody really like dicks? Like, even people that are like into men, do they really like the dicks?
I will not comment.
Dicks are weird. So are balls. Balls are just weird. They're kind of
balls
ugly.
are the weird part.
They're kind of ugly.
So I will say this. I know the artists in my fandom, we'll go ahead and call it. And I know many of their affinities for Futanari. So do some of them legitimately like it? Oh, definitely. 110%. I have seen the evidence.
Okay, sure. I think dicks look weird. But I'm also not into them, so maybe to some people they look good. Anyway, Oh, this is my favorite comment. So this was on a short of mine, in which I showcased Greg Locke saying in one moment he was like, "Oh, if you go to a church and they tell you do this or go somewhere else because, you know, if you don't act like this, you're not part of our church. That's not a church. That's a cult." And then I put that right next to a clip of him being like, "If you come to my church and you're wearing a mask, don't wear a mask to my church. Go somewhere else." Like, okay. So by Greg Locke's own definition, he's a cult. His church is a cult. So this person says, in response to that, says, "I visited and wore a mask and they had no problem with it until they had vandalism and threats on their family and their house. Then it became a security issue. They wanted to see faces on camera in case anyone pulled a gun, and he said so. I was there when he said it. So stop the bullcrap because it was your family that terrified the crowd outside. Or because if it was your family that was terrified with a crowd outside of BLM, you'd change your rules too." Okay, fair enough. If something like that happened, if he actually received a threat and that made him change his stance, fine, whatever. I've never received what I consider to be a serious threat. I definitely have received threats, but I don't consider them to be serious.
No.
But like, if I had received what I consider to be a serious threat, then yeah, I could, like, I would fucking pretend to be a Christian if it would protect my kids. So yeah, I would absolutely compromise my principles if it would protect my fucking children, because I love those little fuckers. So whatever.
Because you're more worried about their real lives than your principles.
Yeah, so whatever. I'm fine with that. Sure, fine. He changes things to protect his family, whatever. But then they finish it by saying, "Oh, and also I sat by black people a few times, so they're not racist either." I just burst out fucking laughing when I saw that. Like,
I have a black friend. I met
this
a black
isn't even,
person.
Sirs, this isn't even "I have a black friend." This is "I sat next to a black person one time, therefore I'm not racist." Like, I don't even know what to do with that. Like, God. Like, I didn't say anything about Greg Locke being racist in that video. It was just, hey, he's a cult. But they're like, "Oh yeah, also, I sat next to a black person, so we're not racist." Okay, cool. The fact that you felt the need to say that says a lot more than what you think it's saying. I actually replied to this one being like, "Thanks, that's the funniest comment I've received on any of my videos all month."
I'm not racist, but...
Oh, God. Like, unironically, I sat next to black people, therefore I can't be racist.
Rhino.
And I'm assuming this is with regards to penises being weird. Leah Keo says, "As a bisexual person, I agree. Because penises are weird and not attractive."
They're floppy.
Well, when they're not floppy, it's just like a weird looking, stiff, veiny thingamajig. Like, so here's the thing. As a straight guy, I can understand why you would think like Chris Hemsworth's body is sexy. I get that. He's a sexy man. I even can kind of understand why you would think that dad bod is sexy. But like penises, they're just weird. So I don't even think that, like, people that are into men, I'm not convinced that they're actually into penises.
I'm too demi to have a good actual conversation about this.
Well, my partner is convinced that I am not entirely straight because of how often I pontificate on this subject.
My girlfriend has a dick and I can pontificate on it all I want.
Well, because that's the thing. Like, my partner, like, if she had a dick, she's still an amazing person that I want to spend a lot of time with and is great. Like, and if she had a dick and wanted me to suck it sometimes, like, even if I didn't like dicks, yeah. If I get to spend time with you in exchange for sucking your dick sometimes, yeah, I would do that. That would be amazing. Anyway, Katini says penises feel good. Like, yeah, I understand that. I get that. Like,
that's because they're in the shape of dildos.
Yeah, it's the shape that's meant to go in that particular hole.
I said, "Oh Lord, most of the My Little Pony community." Nope, we're not talking about clopping today, Big H Gamer. Not today.
No, we are talking about Pastor Parrott, though, who says, your hot take, religion is the primary cause of human rights abuses. My hot take, if it weren't for religion, you wouldn't have a concept of what human rights are.
You're not a good person if you need rules.
But, yeah, like, I don't know, like, he's of a religion that says that slaves are okay. It's okay to own slaves. Like, that's anti-human rights. So are you really going to say that your religion gives us human rights when your religion says slaves are okay to own? When the punishment for rape is to marry the rapist?
You gave us the human rights to being burned in a lake of fire that we vaguely alluded to a couple times in the book, maybe.
Ooh, we can go back to Doctor Who with this one, because one of the things is that, like, you know how the Doctor is consistently against using guns? But, like, in previous incarnations, they will always figure out a non-violent solution to the problem, as opposed to just, like, killing the thing. Whereas, like, the Chibnall Doctor will be like, yeah, no, I won't use a gun, but I'll starve it to death in a room that I can't escape. But I didn't use a gun, so I'm more moral. Well, there's another episode where the alien that killed Graham's wife, now Graham is up against him, and he's like, I got a gun. I'm just going to kill the motherfucker. I don't care that the Doctor doesn't like guns. And then the payoff of that episode is, oh, no, you know what? I'm better than that. I'm not going to use the gun to just kill you. Instead, as the morally superior thing, I'm going to lock you in stasis where you are conscious and in torment for the rest of eternity. Like, no, the gun would be the better option.
More moral.
The gun would be the more moral option there. Like, no, sorry, Chris Chibnall. You're bad at writing. Stop it. Stop trying to write. Just leave the Doctor alone. Go away. We don't want you.
And this is just there's so many bad person wrote Batman isms that are just going through my brain right now. Like, yeah.
Not to jump around too much, but Leah Keogh says, we like the idea of dicks, but they aren't aesthetically pleasing like the lady parts are. And I agree with that. And so my partner is bi, and I feel like she is kind of in agreement with me here that dicks are just weird. And she tolerates that I have a dick. She doesn't enjoy that I have a dick.
That's one way.
She's with me for my personality, but she tolerates that there's also a dick there.
You know, Rhino, if yours was of a sufficient size, it wouldn't have to be tolerating man juices.
No, see, that's the thing, though. Like, I feel like the massive ones are not actually a good thing.
No, they can rip your partner in half.
Yeah, like
not fully in half. That's in manga.
Do you really want to get to the actual cervix? Like, no, I want to be able to go all the way in.
God.
Are you enjoying my conversation about dicks? She's over there grabbing cereal from the... She says dicks are weird.
See, I feel... God, I don't want to sound conceited saying this, but I have had the experience of accidentally tearing a partner because of that before. So I'm just like, yeah, no, I get it. That's bad.
See, no, I am perfectly average. It is exactly 6 inches, like the average is, right? That's the average.
I'll take that. Not like that. No, not like... God damn it.
Fan artists, get on it.
God damn it.
He said it. It's canon now.
This
is what happens when you give me scotch instead of beer. I've had 3 glasses, which is too much. That's like the equivalent of 6 beers, but I only normally have 3. Anyway, Megan Kelly says Bud Light never apologized or even acknowledged how deeply it offended its customers. That's because it's still beholden to the vicious trans activists who threatened it, and it cares more about them than its customers. Why would you give them your business? Because one musician folded? Hard no. So the musician that folded was apparently Kid Rock, was pictured with some Bud Light after his whole, like, shooting it with a shotgun thing.
I think it matters more why your general population was offended.
So here's the thing, though. Like, corporations just care about money. That's literally all they care about. They don't care about offending people. They want to make the choice that will bring them the most money. So if they have not apologized, that means that some marketing executive has been like, hey, if we apologize, we're going to piss off the trans people because we apologize for acknowledging that trans people exist. And then trans people will be less likely to buy our beer, and the people that support trans people. If we just kind of like quietly ignore that this whole thing happened, then maybe everybody will just start buying our beer again because it's one of the most common and most cheap beers that you can get. And when it comes to alcohol, most people don't care about fucking taste. They're just looking for the buzz. Like that's why I'm drinking a $60 bottle of 12-year-old scotch instead of the $120 bottle of 12-year-old scotch.
Because it's there to get you drunk.
It's there for the buzz. If I wanted the taste, I'd spend the $120 and get the better bottle and just drink less of it and enjoy it over a longer period of time. But I want to balance between, I want to feel the buzz and I want it to taste good. So like this tastes good and gets me the buzz for much cheaper than the Macallan does. But the Macallan is objectively better. And also, like, every single fucking beer company has a Pride ad that you can find if you look for it. Like, the Kent Hovind School for Kids Who Can't God Good says Coors Light has entered the chat. It's like, yeah, Coors Light has one of those Pride ads. So does Bud Light. All the beer companies have Pride ads. All of them. Because they've determined that gay people drink beer too. So if we appeal to them, they'll be more likely to drink our beer.
It's almost as if having a broader audience appeal is better than cutting it down political divides. If you're a corporation.
Okay, Senshini says, I love how you said that Chris Rock shot Bud Light with a shotgun because he used some automatic gun to miss them. Someone off screen shot them with a shotgun at the same time to make it look like Chris Rock hit them. Did I say Chris Rock? Because I meant Kid Rock, because it was Kid Rock, not Chris Rock. Those are two very different people.
I think you said Kid Rock.
Okay. I just want to acknowledge that like Kid Rock is a white guy. Chris Rock is not a white guy. Those are not people that I would normally confuse.
You did mention the whole you should never use the argument you can't see race thing. We have evidence of that now.
Yeah, no, and so maybe I can't see race if I No, oh god, no. Because I think Chris Rock, if I recall correctly, Chris Rock is a bit of a right-wing guy as well.
I don't remember. I've never cared enough about him as an individual to find out.
Senshini says, sorry, my bad on the name. It's 5 a.m. That's a legitimate excuse. I get it. So on a normal school day, I have to get up at 6 a.m. to get my kids ready for their bus that leaves at 7 a.m. So I get it. It's not a good time to be up. And then
Dwayne the Kid Rock Johnson.
Fuzzy One says, Chris or Kid, what's the diff? A bunch of melatonin is, or not melatonin, melanin. Bunch of melanin is the difference.
I used to get those confused, by the way.
Yeah? Okay.
Years ago, I would say one instead of the other. And it wasn't until I had enough friends make fun of me that I figured it out.
I mean, so here's the thing. Before I knew anything about God damn it, now I'm doing Kid Rock. Before I knew anything about Kid Rock's music, the thing I knew Kid Rock most for was being in the sex video with Scott Stapp of Creed. Because I didn't listen to Kid Rock. I listened to Creed. And then I found that Creed had a sex tape. I'm like, what? Creed sex tape? With Kid Rock? What? Who is this Kid Rock guy? So that was my introduction to Kid Rock's music. Was I first saw him receiving a blowjob with Scott Stapp backstage.
Huh. Well, everybody gets their cherry pop somehow. I guess that's one way of having it.
Lobo says, Hunter Biden says that the House GOP has no shame. Has he ever seen his own laptop? So here's the thing about that. I have videos on my computer that I do not want the general public to see. I do not want my kids to see it. But it's on my specific personal computer where I have an expectation of privacy. I expect that if I bring my computer in for service and someone stumbles upon this video, they will professionally be like, oh, I will pretend that I never saw that. Whereas Lauren Boebert, I don't know if it was her or Marjorie Taylor Greene, because they're the same person in my mind, even though they fucking hate each other for some reason. But one of them went to Congress with like uncensored pictures of Hunter's dick. Like, that shows that you have no shame. The fact that you stole his dick pics and brought them to Congress shows that you have no shame. The fact that he had his own dick pics on his own private laptop, that doesn't say that he has no shame. That says that he's just a guy. Because most guys probably have a video or a picture of them on their devices somewhere that they don't want made public.
That was Marjorie, though, not Lobo.
Okay. Well, whatever. They're the same person.
They are.
How does she feel? Like, she wants to talk about him about no shame? Like, she was fondled in a theater with fucking kids in it. And she was giving a guy a hand job in the same theater. Does she have no shame? Like, that's at least a situation where, like, you don't have an expectation of privacy when you're at the theater. On your own private laptop, you have an expectation of privacy. So
I think it's because they're of the opinion that the more terrible thing is that you took the picture in the first place. That's what shows that you're not decent.
Yeah, but Lauren Boebert shouldn't be the one making that call.
Yeah.
Like, this was all post titty grabbing, hand job giving in a theater with children, that she says he has no shame because he had a private picture that other people stole from him. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I don't want the pictures and videos that I have of myself that I don't necessarily want. Like, I definitely don't want my kids to see, but like, I don't want made public. If someone steals from me and makes them public, it's like, whatever. These are things that people do. I didn't want you to see it, but now it's out there. If you're going looking for it, that's on you.
In my chat, anti-alias Polygon says, let's be real, if I was Hunter, I'd be like, if Lobo will release the full unredacted contents of the personal computers, I'll plead guilty to anything and they can get a judge to back it up. I feel like Hunter Biden's laptop functions better as the fucking briefcase from Pulp Fiction.
I will release all of my sex tapes if Lobo gives full access to all of her private devices to any investigative committee that gets formed. If that'll actually do anything, sure, why not? Anyway, Cute Black Housewife says, now, in, I don't want to say my defense necessarily, but apparently there have been a lot of, so this was on Threads, and apparently I captured the screenshot in the middle of like a rash of people pretending to be like black conservative.
Oh yeah, the as a black man
there have been
moment.
there have been a bunch of those accounts popping up that aren't necessarily genuine, and I didn't know that when I took the screenshot, but I've since learned that. So let's just assume that this is genuine for the sake of this conversation. So Cute Black Housewife says, as a former atheist and prior agnostic, atheists can't tell me squat about my Bible. I read my book cover to cover and study it regularly. How can you tell me what to believe when you don't believe in anything? It's like, okay, I'm not going to say you were never an atheist because you said something like this, but you were never a thoughtful atheist. Because every atheist I know has become an atheist partly because of reading the Bible and actually putting thought into it.
Or in some cases, no longer having a feedback loop of indoctrination.
Yeah. Like, I did study the Bible. That's how I wound up an atheist. Like, at first, it was just like Phil Plait posted something that was like a fairly minor contradiction. And I was like, ooh, the Bible can't have contradictions, so that can't work. But then it was like, it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's like, I can see how you can make that work, but like the all-powerful God of the universe shouldn't need you to make it work. It should just work. And so it's like, and then that sat with me for years, and I still continued going to church. And eventually I got to the point where it's like, you know what? I'm just going to sit down and read the Bible cover to cover. And then I got to by the book of Joshua, I was an atheist, because book of Joshua is like, God said, and then go kill everybody. All the men, women, children, babies, everything.
You're just like, I don't want to follow this guy.
If you're not the right race, we kill you. That's the way it goes, because God is just. I'm like,
I don't know, Rhino.
That's not the God that I was taught about in school.
I don't know, Rhino. You're looking kind of Canaanite to me.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. Like Phinehas was celebrated because he killed the couple that was a miscegenated couple.
Oh, that is amazing. Cat Bingo says, what made you guys atheists? For me, the answer was cringe. It was Evangelion that made me an atheist. You know what?
Good for you. Good for you.
That's fine.
Good
That's
for
perfectly
you.
fine.
That's a better use of your time than reading the Bible. And I say this as someone who, that's part of my job is to read the Bible. I just got a So for Christmas, my partner got me one of the Anchor Bible editions, which is some of the epistles.
Mm-hmm.
Not the Pauline epistles, but some of the disputed ones. And I know it's signed by the guy who compiled them and did the translation. But that's not what it says in the cover. It's like it says in the cover in the note of the used bookstore that this came from. There's like, this is a special edition because it's signed by the author.
So it's signed by God?
So I have a book of I have some of the books of the Bible that are signed by the author according to so I actually have one of those things. It was like signed by author, and it's great and I love it. And I know it means the guy who translated it for the Anchor Bible. And
it's a book signed by God.
But it still made me giggle. And there's this whole handwritten note in the beginning that I wanted to decipher, but it's one of those the handwriting is such that it's hard to read. It's not hard to read because it's bad handwriting. It's just hard to read because writing is just not clear in general.
Yeah.
But I really want to decipher that at some point. Anyway, yeah. So I'm not generally one to say oh, you were never really an atheist. But if this is your take on atheism, you probably if you were an atheist, it's because you never thought about it. That's my point here.
I read Richard Dawkins once. Now I don't like God.
And that's actually the last tweet. And we're only an hour over time, so
not a whole lot of tweets today.
No, that was normally I do 7. I think we're at 9 today.
Oh, it just went by faster.
Yeah. Well, that's because I tried to make it go by faster because we're an hour late, and I still have to we have guys coming to demolish our kitchen tomorrow, and there's still stuff in our kitchen that we don't want demolished that we have to take out. So
fair enough.
And so shout out to my partner and how amazing she is. I joked about how last time we streamed, I was like, hey, you know what? My partner's gone to bed, so after the stream, I'm just going to play a little bit of this video game that I found. That's this cute little angel goes to hell and fight demons video game that seems kind of apropos for my channel. It matches my brand. Why not? So I'm just going to play a little bit of that after the stream. And so today, it's we have contractors coming tomorrow to demolish the kitchen. So if we don't have everything out of the kitchen, they can't do that, and we can't get our new kitchen. So I'm So I made a joke about how oh yeah, so while you're doing the hard manual labor, I'm going to be I'm going to play some video games. And she was like, no, that's fine. If it's part of your channel, part of your business, that's fine. Go for it. You play the video games. I will do the thing.
You are still working.
And I'm just no, that was supposed to be a joke about me being an inconsiderate douchebag. You're not supposed to be this understanding. Because she is amazing. She is an amazing person. And at risk of getting too mushy, I actually do, within a couple months of dating each other, we were talking about moving in, but both of us were no, we have to be dating for a year at least before moving in becomes a serious consideration. And then she moved in with me at the 8-month mark.
Yeah.
And so that's been kind of a thing. It was like that was our concern. Is like, what if this is just the honeymoon thing, and you know, when we move in together, it turns out like, oh, you squeeze the toothpaste tube the wrong way, so we can't like, that really bothers me or whatever. Like, whatever normal shit that couples fight over, and like, and I still like regularly will have moments where it's like, I'm so lucky to have this person in my life. And
Good.
I just get like this well of emotions that are like, I love that she's with me. I love that she puts up with me. And like, yeah, this is mushy and gross. And I know you guys probably don't want to hear it, but like the fact that like I make that joke and she's like, no, if that's what you need to do to pay the bills, I will empty the kitchen while you play video games for money. And I'm just like, but that was just supposed to be a joke about how like I would never do something that inconsiderate.
And she's just like, nah,
and she's like, cool. No, if that's what you need to do to make money, that's what you need to do. And like, I don't know. I love her. She's great. So anyway, on that note, I think that's a good note to end it on. And on a positive note, I love my partner.
I'm glad you're happy, dude.
I am. I like regularly. She will like be cuddling me in bed and I'll be like on the verge of tears with like, how did I get so lucky? Because she actually like likes me and is a good person.
It's good to know I'm not the only one that does that.
And I know she does it too, because like sometimes she'll like look at me and be like, I love you and I don't think you understand how much I love you. Like, no, I don't think you understand how much. And sorry, I'm a little bit drunk, so like I'm getting a bit more personal than normal, but this is actually how we are sober. So she's great. And yeah, as always, fuck off.